Alright, what is going on YouTube? Welcome to Jordan vs Max Hidden Cup 4 Decider Series, as Avengi just subbed with a first tier sub. Thank you so much for that. So, Max versus Jordan. Jordan should be the clear favorite over here. Home maps look as follows: Bay, Gold Rush, Slopes for Max, Islands, Hideout, Cross for Jordan. Civilizations will be Italians, Huns, Japanese, Chinese, Indians, Persians, Khmer, Berbers for Max, and Mongols, Franks, Portuguese, Tatars, Britons, Malians, Byzantines, and Teutons for Jordan. Without any other words, these are live games, and they just finished the spectator countdown, so we should be able to jump inside in a moment. Indeed, here we go. I just need to connect my capture age, and we can get going. Apologies for a quick intro here. I actually planned to have like a little longer intro, but they didn't have a lot of spec delay on it. I think it was 1 or 2 minutes. And with that, I think we are good to go. So welcome to Arabia. We are going to have Max playing as Chinese on the right side in red. Left side is going to be Jordan in blue playing as Franks. Now in the previous set, I believe, Kaposh was the blue player and Jordan played the red, if I remember right. Jordan had an insanely good series versus Kaposh in the previous round. And ended up winning with what was a very, very surprising and very, very good landing on islands. Jordan once again has islands on his home maps, but obviously that trick isn't going to work anymore. Max, in the meanwhile, hasn't convinced me a lot in this tournament. Overall, his recent performances feel like he's playing a little less clean than he used to play. And it seems like we have a pause. Okay, so quick pause over here after 1:30. I wonder why, but it doesn't really matter because they now continue. Indeed, it is Suomi Day because later on today we're going to witness Viles playing as well. So Jordan, I'm not going to say he pulled an upset against Kaposh. There was a lot of debate in the YouTube comments whether or not Kaposh was the clear favorite. I feel like based on recent tournament performances, I expected Kaposh to win that. So Kaposh was very, very active in tournaments, had some good performances in Red Bull qualifiers and so, whereas this is the first huge result that we're seeing from Jordan, but I have to say Jordan played very, very clean. So if he retains that performance from last week, we can safely say that now Jordan is back. So we'll have a gold mine at the back for our blue player here. Berries on the side. This is actually a very, very bad berry patch because it's wide open on the right. Technically you can voll here, but you probably won't. And the left side is rather volable as Jordan is mainly focusing on pushing in deer. Stone in the front is not nice. Your front is open. This is not a good map for Jordan. Not the worst map I've ever seen, but definitely not nice. Free on wood for Max, so it seems like he's going to play scouts here. Max's base, front gold, not so nice. Technically it's defendable, but not a fan of that. What's even worse is this part of the map, and I think this clearly shows that this map is way, way, way worse for Max than it is for Jordan. Now, if the berries weren't here, this would be an easy wall off. You just wall here, and you just wall here or so. But the berries, you kind of have to protect those in this setup. So the thing is that I like Chinese over Franks in this Civ matchup because, once again, the thing I value in Chinese the most is versatility. They have a very, very nice reaction. They can play archers, they can play scouts, they have camels that they can react with. So I feel like the versatility is definitely on the side of the Chinese here. The thing, however, is that oftentimes the Franks will just brute force their way through you. So the Flood of Knights, potentially an early pikeman switch, an early castle drop could really knock anyone out of his rhythm. So it seems like both players will be playing standard free on wood. No surprise about that for Jordan. He's just going to play standard scouts here. So let's do a little bit of predictions here while we are pretty much waiting for Feudal Age to arrive. So I think that if Jordan retains his performance from last week, then it's gonna be rather, I'm not going to say one-sided, as by the way, this is a best of 7, not a best of 5. Apologies for that. So if Jordan retains his performance from last week, I am going to say 4-2 for him. I think Max will have his moments, but Jordan looked very, very precise in last week's game, as we are going to have the first hit landed over here by Max, so Jordan is not going to be able to deny that tier push anymore. So the real question is if Jordan is able to retain that performance, because Max has been playing rather consistently over the recent time. It's a matter of that his level is not as high as it used to be in Hidden Cup 2, for example. Now, Jordan warmed up with Viper on Arabia. I haven't seen that game, but I've seen the lobby. So, Jordan is probably very well warmed up. And we also have to consider, once again, the factor that probably both players have a lot of strategy support here. What I mean by that is that Jordan will be supported by GL members. If things require it, he's probably going to be able to consult the GL members for, hey, I'm losing, I need a special strategy. Or maybe he already has some of them on his mind. We talked about that last week, that the Gamer Legion team is very, very good at, helping each other with strategies if needed. And I'm fairly certain that since Doubt, Viper, Taro are in the main event, right? They were invited, if I'm not mistaken. Nili is out. Slam is still in. So technically, Jordan and Slam are the ones that are really in the need of strategies over here. Other side, Suomi kind of has that same system as well, so they help each other just as much as GL does. Is 30 seconds idle time normal for a Chinese start? Yes. Because here's the deal. You can't make villagers immediately. So you make Loom and then you will have some idle time. In fact, 26 seconds of TC time with Chinese is actually very, very good. So it's not just about, some TC idle time. 26 is actually very good. I think basically you start with 3 extra villagers. It is said that if you can keep that to 2, then it's perfectly fine. And you do that by just having 25 seconds TC idle time. So 26 is an excellent Chinese start. So as expected, we're gonna have scouts coming in here from both sides. Standard Bitaxe horse color combination over here. As Jordan still has quite a decent amount of HP on his scout. He landed a couple of hits on his opponent before Max reached Feudal. So 25 is the theoretical minimum. I don't have the numbers in my head, but basically what you have to consider is that your starting villagers have to gather 50 food as fast as possible. I don't know what the theoretical minimum is because it depends on your sheep spawn and if it's actually scouted immediately. And your sheeps being scouted depends on which side your sheep and which side your villagers and scout spawns. If you have your sheep scouted immediately, so you can actually control your sheep, it's much easier to pull off a good Dark Age with Chinese than compared to when you have to rush out and take that sheep. It's probably going to delay you by a couple of seconds, but 26 is an excellent Chinese time. Even the best pros, we are seeing 30, 35, 40 seconds of idle time on TCs for Chinese starts. So, for now, Jordan is going to bring in the Spearman and will try to intercept the Voyager here. Max is playing semi-open, so he's warning off the north as he's poking down a Voyager over here. Max might lose a scout here to this Spearman, which is worth monitoring. And Max is trying to counterattack and gets a scout inside Jordan's base. Jordan is almost walled, so unless these scouts do immediate damage, Jordan is not going to be hurt that much. And he could intercept this Voyager over here by his scouts. So the first Voyager kill will be from Jordan. Picks off one. The other side, as I said, Jordan is fully walled. These are the walls that are reasonable for him, and he secures the berries for himself, which is super important for Franks. And Jordan already sending Voyagers to gold. He either wants to add archers here, which would be a somewhat surprising move from a Frankish player, or he already feels like he has done enough damage, and he will just try to go towards Castle Age. 13 only on food would be a very, very low Castle Age food count. But as things stand, there is one Voyager killed by Jordan here. Eco upgrades are very similar. And as I said, he's already adding Voyagers to gold, so that's it. Jordan is not gonna make any scouts. There was a topic on AoE Zone that's a very, very good topic. On what numbers do you keep in your head when you're playing? And I think Engine Jolie, one of the better Dutch players, actually had the numbers up, where he said, if you go for like small army with scouts build or so, you go for 13, 14 on food. If you go for like medium army, it's like 16, 17, and if you go for a lot of army in Feudal Age, it's like 19, 20. So the fact that we have 13, 14 at the beginning when Jordan starts adding Voyagers to gold kind of makes me feel like indeed he's not going to add more scouts, and you're absolutely right about that. But here's the surprise. an archer play. Now, that actually surprises me a tiny bit, because you don't really want to go into an archer war against Chinese. It's not about Chinese or Frankish crossbows being bad, it's about you don't want to do that against Chinese. Especially because Franks don't have arbalests, so you don't really want to sustain the crossbowman play. That being said, Jordan is still annoying his opponent, might even pick off another Voyager over here, Max trying to chase those scouts down. And because he's delaying Max quite heavily, he might beat him to Castle Age quite heavily. And what Jordan could be playing for here is delay your opponent into Castle Age and then just get a couple of crossbows to kill his eco. So he doesn't want to sustain a crossbow push, but an early crossbow push could actually help here quite a bit. Because even if your opponent is walled, it actually does a lot more damage. So you see that the scouts are actually running around being super annoying. Max going for his own blacksmith. He's not going to be that much behind in terms of Castle Age time, but you see that he's still on just one stable. I don't think that Max is going to play with archers here. It's more likely that we're going to see knights from him. And that's indeed the crossbow switch from Jordan coming in here. So I feel like if Jordan times this right, he could do a lot of damage with it. Look at that. A lot of Voyagers are low HP here, so just a couple of crossbows could actually start killing a lot here from Max. The two ecos will be very similar, I would say. So the Franks having the free mill upgrades, whereas Chinese having more food on the farms. Extra Voyager is nice overall. The extra Voyager advantage is pretty much gone, because Max now has 51 seconds of T-side all time, and one Voyager lost, so I think the two ecos are relatively even right now, and Max is going to play double stables. That's the tricky part for Jordan, as he runs through the walls once again, Spearman trying to intercept him. So the thing is that the early crossbowmen will struggle against early knights, especially if Max grabs a couple of upgrades for them. As it is more important, I think, that Max is going to spot the archers coming his way. So we'll see how he reacts, but I feel like it's just going to be pure knights. Indeed, he's gonna go for bloodlines. He will try to keep this part of the wall open with his scouts. As the Voyager comes in here, Max will pull the Spearman. So that should probably go up. But you see that Max has to add a second layer of walls over here, because what really is problematic is his gold mine scale barding on the way for him. But he's still 1 minute away from Castle Age, that's the problem. The knights will help you a lot, but it only helps when you reach Castle Age, and by that time Jordan might be denying this gold mine. Quick pause actually will happen, and that means that those spearmen will sort of be trapped over there, and the spearmen might poke them down. But archers coming in here as well, try to pick off a couple of Voyagers. This is still dangerous for Jordan, because if he actually loses his small groups of crossbows, suddenly his opponent is gonna have a significant advantage in army numbers. So here come the crossbows, no Botkin from Jordan just yet. And that's a forward workshop, so he wants to go very aggro. But in that case, I think he has to open with a forward monastery, because he's gonna be up against knights and he will soon see the second stable. So crossbows are in, and it seems like Jordan is actually going to play for wood eco denial, and that might work. Look at all the wood that's available for Max. Or, well, that's not available, to be precise. There's basically no wood for Max. Luckily for him, he was floating quite a lot, so that's going to save him for a moment. But currently Max has 5 on wood, and reality is that that's way less. Now, as I said, Jordan's small groups of archers will actually get killed pretty easily by knights here. So that's the problem that he's going to face very soon here. And there is the monastery coming in. I think he needs to group up his archers if he wants to continue this way. You could make a case for mixing in a couple of knights to snipe mangonels, as we will have a 2 TC play here from Jordan. And the core idea here is going to be trying to push that gold mine. And if he's able to do damage on it, even just idling the Voyagers, that's going to cripple the ability for Max to produce knights. For Max, he probably wants to stay back and get the +2 defense in, and he deletes the mining camp, goes for a TC. That's understandable, but that won't help you. This might be a bad decision from Max, because the crossbows will still deny the gold mine from this side. You can't prevent that. But in the meanwhile, he's not getting in gold. He's using all his gold Voyagers for that TC, and that hurts quite badly, because as you see, there is no more knights coming out. The knights don't have +2 defense. If you have 2 monks here and about 10-15 crossbows, I think they can actually take this fight here. Especially if there's a couple of knights as well from Jordan helping. So this could be very tricky for Max over here, as especially the monk numbers increasing for Jordan, that will be very helpful against those knights. It looks like Max might actually launch a counterattack, And Jordan is fully walled. This is actually some very, very nice walls from him. So he's walling behind with a layer of houses just to make sure that those guys don't break through. And here's the deal. The gold income is going to be very, very low for Max, but he finds a gold mine at the back, so that's going to be kind of a life-saving here for him. But now the food eco is going to be problematic, and he also takes this hill. And denying half of the opponent's food eco is already a huge thing, as Max doesn't really know what to do with those knights, I feel like. So, no more monks for Jordan. His push kind of stalled out here, but he's denying like 5, 6, 7 farms. So the opponent's food eco isn't that great. Max is getting a couple more knights in as he tries to launch a counterattack, but as I said, this is not going to accomplish much, and I feel like Jordan is doing more damage to his eco than he's doing to Jordan's. In fact, Jordan is just booming very, very happily. Jordan's only on 2 TCs, Max is on 3, there's the Siege Workshop coming in. We already have a monastery for the Max to get a couple of conversions in on those knights, or convert back the knights that Max has lost to conversion. Army numbers are very, very similar, as apparently the TC is shooting that crossbowman. That's a little sloppy from Jordan, losing 2 crossbowmen like that. It seems like Jordan might switch back to knights here, although he's still playing just 1 stable. Jordan getting TC number 3 up just now on the other side. And here is the deal. As Chad is indeed saying, that might be a knight deletion. Jordan didn't delete that. I feel like he should have deleted that knight because that was within the range of the monk for so long, so loses a knight to conversion. So here's the deal. One of the reasons why Franks can be scary on Arabia is because they have very, very cheap castles. So dropping a forward castle is absolutely a possibility. If you land a castle here, that's a dream for Jordan. That's an absolute dream. He might have a knight guarding this gold mine to make sure that his opponent isn't able to take it. I think this is the moment where Max will want to sandwich Jordan's army in here, and a lot will come down to this fight. If Jordan loses this fight, he could be in huge trouble, because his opponent's eco is still pretty good. 56 to 65 is the villager count. And Jordan will take this hill. I think he knows that a counterattack is imminent. So he will try getting the conversions in here. Monks also coming in. And now Jordan could actually pick off those monks very, very easily. And indeed, Max realizes what's going on. Monks coming in here for the conversions. Gets 1, gets 2, gets 3. But that's a huge counterattack. And as I said, I don't think that Jordan has got the beef here. These are +1/+1 knights. If these were +2, this would be an easy cleanup. And Jordan is going to have to run for his life. So that's the problem that he was facing. And that's usually the problem that you're facing overall. When it comes to crossbowmen play against early knights. You just... Unless you have a huge group of crossbows, they would just get overrun by knights. Even without +2 defense. Max dominates this fight over here. Regarding to the question if Jordan knows about the gold mine at the back of Max's base, he knows about it. Jordan now sending villagers to stone, but here is the problem. I feel like, as I said, Franks are a little one-dimensional to me here. So, if you play pure knights, Max can play camels. Max could also play pikemen, because Chinese halberdiers are also fully upgraded. If you play pikemen as Jordan, your opponent is just going to switch into arbalest. So, Franks here are a little bit more one-dimensional than the Chinese. Ecos are actually very, very close. And we'll see if we're going to have a forward workshop here from Max, who's dropping outposts everywhere across the map. Jordan's going to front stone, which definitely hurts him in this case. The other stone he has is much, much better. In fact, I'm not sure why he's not taking that instead. So, right now the knights from Jordan have +1/+1 bloodlines. And same upgrades from Max over here. It is 16 knights against 20, but there is 3 monks on the field as well from Max. Meanwhile, Jordan lost his monastery on the front. He had to rebuild it back at home, so he doesn't really have a lot of monks on the field. And it really seems like Max or Jordan just wants to go for a defensive castle here. It is understandable that he's mining this stone, because this would be a good emergency stone if he loses this part of his base. But this is also going to be dangerous. Now, the cheaper Frankish castle could help quite a lot, but eventually you will have to get a castle up over here somewhere, because you want to protect this golden stone. Also, bring in a knight or bring in a monk to heal the knights. Both players going for the +2 defense. And Jordan might intercept that villager. That would be huge, but you also have to consider that Max is coming in here, and he might just try to take the fight against the villagers on the stone. This is why it's a risky decision to go for that. +2 defense just in now for Jordan, but he's got 18 knights on the field, 20 for his opponent. But Max ends up losing 1 knight for a price of 1 villager. Jordan actually has a sneaky 15 villagers lead, something that we haven't pointed out, and the reason why is because Max's eco is absolutely awful. Look at this. The farming eco is a disaster. 40 minutes TC idle time from Max. This is not about the civilization, this is about macro and execution, and Jordan is just outplaying his opponent here. Because while Jordan was pushing and both players were playing free TCs, it seems like Jordan's macro here was much better than his opponent's macro. As things stand, Max has fallen behind by 15 villagers just because of that TC time, so that early push might have knocked him out of his rhythm, I don't really know. But it seems like it damaged him quite hard, and now he's 4 TCs, but look at this. This is not just the early push. Max is idling his TCs so much, all 4 of his TCs are idle. And it's not like he's having insane villager count. I understand that he might go for a very aggressive castle age here with the pikemen and the knights, but this is very dangerous. And remember that switching into pikemen is something that the Franks are pretty happy about, because either the Franks are switching to their own pikemen, or throwing axemen could be an idea as well. So Mangano coming in here, and it really seems like Max is going to play a castle age all in here, as Jordan's gonna have to weather the storm here. 30 knights against 25, but there's also pikeman numbers for Max, and Jordan doesn't have throwing axeman right now, trying to go for his own pikeman, and Max indeed has enough stone for a forward castle. I think if he wants to go for it all in, this is the moment where you drop a castle here. On the opponent's face, here comes the big clash, monks coming in from both sides. I think this might be slightly better for Jordan, but there is no way of telling. +2 attack is coming in for Max, but by the time it comes in, it's gonna be a little too late. And Max seems to be overrunning Jordan here. Jordan is down to 10 military against 49. The all-in is working from Max. The all-in is working, and Jordan's just gonna get overrun. Holy smokes, Jordan taps out immediately. The weird thing here was that the army numbers looked so close, but I guess the pikemen came in earlier for Max, and Jordan didn't really have a lot of pikemen on the field, and as good as it looked like for Jordan in the first half of the game, Max makes 2 decisive fights. There was one at the middle where Jordan lost all his crossbows, and then this fight over here. I feel like the problem was the crossbow switch, although, as I said, we have to add that I think that Chinese is just a better civilization for Arabia compared to Franks. Franks are extremely strong, but I feel like the versatility is something that gives Chinese a very good leverage over Franks, and Jordan played this one well. In fact, I would say that he was borderline outplaying Max. If Jordan was able to get a castle up for himself, then this would have been a completely different thing, and I feel like instead of going out here to mine stone, he could have mined it over here. And he would have had the stone to drop a castle before this all-in push arrives. But with that, Max takes game number 1, and we are going to Jordan's home map. Now, this once again wasn't a super clean Max, but I would say that the decision-making here was on point from him. So, as much as the execution wasn't necessarily perfect, the decision-making was quite nice. Because he realized, okay, he wants to go for a castle age all-in and actually finish this off very nicely. That means that Chinese are gone for Max, Franks are gone for Jordan, and the home maps available are Islands, Hideout, and Cross for Jordan. I think, based on what we have seen against Kaposh, I think he's leaving Islands as his last home map, or at least that was the idea. Against Kaposh, obviously the trick that he has used over there is no longer usable against Max, because Max has probably seen those recorded games as well. And indeed, previously, he went for Islands as the last map. Now he's gonna go for Islands as his first home map. And I think that now Jordan is just going to play Standard. Because the thing is that, as I said, against Kaposh, Jordan actually did in the decider game. Game number 5, Islands, and Jordan went for a surprise landing. I think he used Portuguese for the landing or so. And the reason why that was so genius is because that was completely unpredicted by Kaposh. And Jordan just stomped Kaposh with that. One of the reasons why he won that series, and one of the reasons why he deserved that series so much. Was it Berbers? Yeah, Berbers is also a decent water civilization. In fact, I understand now, indeed. He was Berbers against Koreans. Because He used the speed of the Berber fire galleys to chase down Korean galleys, and Koreans don't have demos. That's why Kaposh wasn't able to respond to that one very, very nicely, and also landing at the same time allowed him to go for scouts and cripple Kaposh's eco. This time, we have an Italians versus Portuguese matchup, and you won't be able to use that trick again, which means that we might just see Jordan trying to play standard on islands here. He's one step away from getting into Hidden Cup 4, but that is a huge step to make, and as much as I was saying that Max has been sort of underwhelming in recent tournaments, I feel like every set is different, and we could very well see an excellent Max in this one. We will soon find out, I guess. So, with that, we'll jump into islands, as we're going to have TheMax playing in blue as Italians, and on the left side, Jordan is going to be playing Portuguese in red. Two very, very standard civilizations, out of which I actually prefer Portuguese overall. Especially very, very late game, and oftentimes we're seeing islands going into late game. I just feel like Portuguese, with the Feitorias, with the cheaper gold cost, with the extra Pierce armor on their galleons, with their extra HP on their ships, they just feel better as a long-term civilization for islands. Obviously, Italians are still one of the best water civilizations out here, but I feel like Portuguese is sort of taking over, especially if the game goes very, very long. That being said, I don't think that Jordan's gonna be able to use the same trick that he used against his opponent in the previous round, but that doesn't mean that he won't actually bring in some surprising moves. So we could still see an attempted landing by Jordan trying to capitalize on the cheaper unit cost of Portuguese with gold. Did they change colors? Yes, they did. That actually is against the rules, by the way. So the rules specifically say that you can't change color within a set. So I don't know why they actually did this. I don't think that we can actually do anything about it here. So that's a little unfortunate. But the rules specifically say that you can change colors within a set. So, you see a quite rare, as we have another pause here. What is this? Yeah, it's just another pause. So, here's the deal. Oftentimes, you see players luring in their boards with their scouts, but they kind of stopped doing that recently. And the reason why is because you lose a lot of HP on your scout. And that means that if you get landed, you are sort of in a disadvantage. As we're gonna have the boar dying in slow-mo. So, Jordan's trying to push in deer for himself over here. His deer push is actually relatively easy. So, clear path to the town center, not something that you always have. But that is also something that Max is able to do here. So, the deal is that if you actually don't get landed, then using your scout to lure in the boar is absolutely fine. But if you do get landed, you're going to be in trouble. Now, the fact that Max was using his own scout to lure in the boar kind of means that he doesn't want to land himself, so he just wants to play standard water. And it's going to be front dog, standard galley rush from Max over here. Jordan is also going to go for standard galley rush, so we're going to see good old-fashioned fire galley play from both players, as Jordan is bringing in his first boar only right now, so he's prioritizing deer. But you gotta wonder if those deer actually arrived on time, because there's a possibility that he was actually consuming sheep for a long time. He's down to 4 sheep, I believe, which would actually delay his fuel age if he wasn't on hunt for that long. As compared, Max has 5 sheep left, which means that he was using more hunt in Dark Age. Max could actually get a massive fuel age advantage from this one. Actually, look at this. Max even has 7 sheep remaining. And the more sheep you consumed means that you were on hunt way less. And if you were on hunt way less, then your food income in Dark Age was weaker. So you see that this is only the 3rd deer that Jordan is pushing in, and only the first boar he has in. As compared to this, Max already has both boars in, I think, or at least one of them. Yeah, he's bringing the second boar right now, but all of his deer, and he still has a lot of sheep left over here. The sheep left over in fuel age also helps quite immensely, as Max saves the day. That could have been an awful spot to kill that boar, but with the cheaper age up of Italians, and the fact that Max's early food eco was much better. I feel like this could be a massive fuel age advantage for him over here. 2 fishing trips already out for him, getting the 3rd one out. Jordan is just getting the 2nd one out as well. This isn't a great start for Jordan. Or, more likely, it's not a bad start from Jordan, but it is a way better start from his opponent. So you see that now he's actually getting the food from the hunt, but Max should be clicking up any moment now. Probably wants to jump into the TC with those villagers on the board. And especially with Italians, he should have about a half a minute advantage or so. Now he's also low on food here, like very, very low. I think he went for too many villagers on wood though here. Now clicks up, and you see that Jordan is gonna be lagging like half a minute behind. Yeah, sort of. 145, 204. So it's a 20 seconds lead for Max into fuel age here. Both players had a bit of a TC idle time, but not really a big deal for either side. So you see that Jordan has so much food left on that board. You will always have some food left on your board, but the ideal scenario is that it's lower, or as low as possible, and you keep the food in the piggies. So that's why you're actually trying to prioritize the boars and the hunt in general in Dark Age. So standard 4 on gold from Max. And for Jordan, probably the same is going to be the plan. A dock will come up somewhere around over here for the deep fish. You might actually argue if you want the dock here for the shore fish as well. Max. Or Jordan is going for 3 on gold only. That's the Portuguese thing. So your units cost less gold, and that helps immensely when you actually distribute your villagers. You can actually afford a little less villagers on gold. So 5 fishing ships right now for Max, only 4 from Jordan, already a 2nd dock up as well for Max, who's opening galleys, interestingly. Other side is going to be opening fire galleys. Now the front dock galley play is something I kind of disapprove. It's going to be pretty bad for you at the beginning, because the fire galleys are much better individually than the galleys are. What you get here for Max though is that you can kill the opponent's fishing eco really fast, because before those fire galleys would arrive, you have a couple of galleys on the field, and they can start killing ships immediately, and they're much better at killing fishing ships than fire galleys are. And Max will actually bump into Jordan's fishing eco in a matter of moments. He sees it, he reacts, and you see, they are just much better at killing fishing ships. Now, fun fact, Portuguese fishing ships actually have a bit more HP as well, so it doesn't just apply to combat ships, it also applies to fishing ships here as well. But here's the deal, why you're not going for a forward dock galley rush. Because you're just gonna get overrun by fire galleys, and this seems like a bad decision at the end of the day from Max. Maybe he thought he has a bigger advantage into feudal age or so, but just a plain and simple forward dock galley play is not something that you want to play in 2021, and you see why. So if it's straight galleys, then it has to be side docks. That's basically the way it works out, because the side docks allow you to mass 5-6 galleys before the fire galleys arrive, and that's a disaster for Max if you ask me. Now, he could actually retreat over here, as he's getting a kind of inefficient demo in here, but oh boy, that's a disaster already for Max. He's actually saving 2 of his galleys, looping all the way around, but see that he's actually forced to go for fire galleys, and that's I think a white flag waved here. Max has been massively misplaying this one. Like, the thing is that forward dock galleys is definitely something that most pros are up against. It's just not something that works out well if you get galley rushed. The only way I can imagine that one working for Max is if he anticipated galley play from Jordan. Maybe he thought it's going to be side dock galleys from Jordan, and he went for his own front dock galleys, which could be something I can justify. But currently it seems like Max is losing water big time. He's losing his fishing eco, whereas Jordan could actually lose some of his fishing eco as well if that galley turns back, but it's so weak that a fire galley will finish it off. Jordan's fishing eco is very efficient, whereas Max's fishing eco is getting close to being non-existent. And soon, I think this is the moment where Jordan could start thinking about switching into galleys himself, because he has a nice and easy water lead. So the next step is that he can actually start transitioning galleys. It's 10 fire galleys against 4 galleys on water. Max has massively misplayed this one, and this game overall should just be a tutorial on why you are not going for forward dock galleys. Now, he's trying to snipe some fishing ships, sure, but I feel like sniping 1 or 2 fishing ships doesn't actually compensate you for potentially losing water in the next couple of moments. And Jordan also has better fire galleys here. Maybe, just maybe Max went for this one because he knew that he can't win a straight up fire galley fight against better fire galleys. But in that case, you have to question the Italians pick. I think Italians was actually one of the earlier picks here for Max, and I have said multiple times that I feel like Portuguese are much better on islands right now than Italians are. So this might actually come down to the Civ draft of the players, as this fire guy is just casually watching the other fire guy getting destroyed. But Max doesn't have an operational fishing eco, and if you look at the food count, it starts to show. It starts to show Max, or what Max, Jordan is selling his stone as well to go up into Castle Age. He's stomping Max here. And as much as I was praising the decision making from Max in the previous game, this was massively misplayed by him. This was massively misplayed. I remember that when I was getting coached, I think it was Dogao coaching me, we had a discussion about islands. And he specifically said that you should never go for front dock galleys. If you go for front dock, it has to be fire galleys. If you go for side dock, it is galley play. So, Castle Age on the way for Jordan. And here's the deal. Now you don't want to switch into war galleys. You want to continue with fire ships and just clean up water. Max is slowly getting the food he needs, but this is the advantage that you're getting if you control water in early feudal age. Your fishing eco is untouched, and that is the extra food that you're getting, and that's a GG move here from Max. He's getting his entire fleet trapped in here. Oh, he can actually sail away. So, he's fine for a moment. But it's 13 fire galleys against only 5 galleys. There is a demo coming in. But at the end of the day, those will be fire ships pretty soon. This scout is even gonna get killed, so Jordan could actually do any kind of landing he wants. I think he's just going to play standard water now. He's confident in winning this one. He could start transitioning to war galleys if he wants to, but I feel like he should just open fire ships. At the end of the day, you probably want to start transitioning to galleys, because the fire galleys are always more exposed to demos, and there's always more comeback potential for your opponent when you're playing fire galleys than you're playing standard galleys. If Jordan actually switches into standard war galleys here, then he should be able to dominate Max on board. Like, see, Max is lagging behind at 2 minutes into Castle Age, and I wouldn't even be surprised to see a GG here by Max. It seems like he's not tapping out. War guy upgrade immediately for Jordan, and this is the moment, as I said, where you're actually trying to transition into actual war galleys instead of fire ships. You will destroy the docks, but then you will actually start adding the war galleys. The fact that the fishing eco for Jordan is working and it is not working for Max is giving him a 2 minutes advantage into Castle Age. That's why it's so important to keep these guys alive. So, yeah, the docks are down, or at least they will be down in a moment. Jordan's gonna have 13 fire ships against just 4 galleys. Soon it's gonna be 0 galleys here. Both of these are really weak, so right now Max has 1 galley somewhere on the water inside this dock, actually. And what is Jordan up to now? He's buying stone, so that's gonna be a second TC over here. But as I said, I feel like he kind of needs to add war galleys, so you can start harassing the shoreline. A war galley here could be very helpful, killing villagers. And you also have to distribute your fire ships around the edges of the island, because if you do that, it's going to be much harder for your opponent to redock. Now, in this case, what Max can do is try to boom in up here if Jordan is not pushing him. Or the alternative is that he's trying to mine stone and drop a cast and try to redock. But if you're Jordan, you can do multiple things. You can either just go for your own boom. Indeed, he's going for that. He's playing this one very safe. Doesn't want to go for a failure landing. Now, he could definitely consider... I think Max is expecting Jordan to land him. Max is expecting Jordan to land him. That's the only reason why he would go for a fast monastery like that. 2 additional TCs, so... Looking at the food count, you might think, hey, maybe he wants to go for Imperial here quickly, and that's why he's making monastery. That's not really the case. Obviously, he can pick up relics with that monastery, but I feel like he wouldn't really prioritize that one early on. So I'm not really sure if that monastery is only for relics. Maybe he feels like Jordan could land him, and that's a legitimate fear. Jordan is also going for a monastery. But at this point, Jordan can also add a couple of fishing ships himself. And look at the eco difference. 51 to 37. That mostly comes from the fact that Jordan was up to Castle Age much faster. So he was on free TCs much faster. And Jordan is buying a lot of food as well, because he kind of needs to. Here's the transport. And I think that's alright. You boom on the fish. With Jordan, you have free TCs. Sending villagers to stone, so eventually that's going to be a castle. I think you place that castle on one of these islands for long-term sustainability. But you also land. You could even just make a case for landing your scout. Do you know why? Because that would bait Max into thinking there's an actual landing going on. Remember, Max lost his scout, so if Max sees a scout on his own island, he's going to start panicking, freaking out that, hey, I'm getting landed, and because he doesn't have his scout, he can't actually look at the game and say, hey, I'm not actually getting landed, it's just a sneaky scout, right? So this would be an excellent bait from Jordan, as now he's switching into Vorgalley, and that's a monk. Oh, Jordan is just playing this one super safe. I like that he's playing this super safe. He's actually trying to yoink relics from his opponent. That's the plan. He wants to go for that relic. He warmed up with Viper, and that's a very, very Viper-like play. Tries to yoink that relic for himself. The big relic haste. And it might seem like it's a gimmick. It might seem like it's something that, you know, is for the memes. But this is actually huge. 4-1 relics is much, much better than 3-2. That being said, it seems like a Max will be able to grab that relic just before, so Jordan's gonna be left empty-handed over here. And imagine if Jordan actually switched into War Guys a little earlier. He could have done it. He could have done it. But it's too late now, so it's not going to happen. And indeed, Jordan's gonna have to settle with this relic. Still, 3 relics to 2 is still huge on islands, especially if you're Portuguese. And the thing is that this is the awful scenario that Italians are in. In a very, very long game, like post-Imperial, Portuguese are like miles ahead of Italians. That's the problem that Italians are facing, and this is why I'm saying that oftentimes you're seeing islands going to late game, and that means that for me, right now, Portuguese is actually the best water civilization for this 1v1 islands setup. University for what could be ballistics for Jordan, but I feel like he could just be thinking about going into Imperial here. Max is mining stone heavily, so he will want to redock, something that Jordan will see. In fact, if Jordan gets Botkin here, he can just deny that stone mine. If Jordan actually went for war galleys earlier, like maybe even start transitioning to them while he was going up to castle, he could have had a lot more war galleys out by now, and he would be denying that stone mine, which would be huge. Because denying that stone mine would actually delay the redocking attempt from Max, who definitely wants to redock and go for fast fires. Look at those resources. That's almost Imperial. That's almost a redock into fast fires. As University is coming in, that's the other building that Max needs for Imp. Other side, Jordan is actually thinking about going into Imperial as well. Look at all these houses across his island. It's simply for, you know, vision. Making sure that your opponent isn't able to sneakily land on you. Max redocking coming in here converts a fire ship, and it seems like he won't drop the castle to redock. However, there is enough war galleys here to potentially deny this one. That's the thing, or at least delay it. And delaying is also huge because both players are going into Imperial, and when you are doing like this redock into fast fire ship play, the time actually matters a lot as well. Because you need to get good fire ship numbers over here. You see, Max is actually just getting fire galleys out. He doesn't even have the war galley upgrade right now, something that he's just now getting. But it's only 3 docks, and they're actually slowly going down, so I'm not sure how much Max is going to be able to do here, especially because his opponent is also almost up to Imperial, so it's only 20 seconds advantage, and Jordan is already out here on this island. I think that Jordan is playing this one really, really smart, so many players underestimate the importance of the middle islands. Jordan does not, as that's going to be a castle attempt over here. Jordan will try to stop that, and that seems very, very unlikely. However, Jordan will have the neutral islands in the middle, so Jordan could actually set up traps over here and start trapping this one down. Or, technically, he's going to have water control as well, and that castle is going up. But it's going to be a good old-fashioned true doubt castle. Look at all these villagers dying. Right now it's 16 villagers killed, 17, 18. It goes up. But this is actually Good old-fashioned outcastle here. Max lost about 19 villagers over the course of the game. I think 15 of them was on that castle. So now it seems like Max is up, and he's gonna have a couple of fire ships here as well. But does that matter at this point? Because Jordan could go for demos. Jordan is getting a castle up over here on this island. That's a very, very good castle, because the thing is that Max can trap down this castle from his own island, but Jordan can trap down this castle from this neutral island. Fast fire on the way. And now it is going to be Galleon, Bracer, Chemistry, Fast Chemistry coming in here for Jordan. He needs Galleon though. Where is that queued up? He does have the resource for Galleon, so I'm not sure what is happening here. Max, once again, not paying attention to his units. He's coming in here with the fire ship, but look at this. He even loses 2 fire ships to monks. Max is falling apart here. By the time he has fast fire, he's gonna have 4 fire ships on the field. 4 fire ships against 26 war galleys. Now it's galleons coming in as well. Max is down to 74 villagers, a 20 villagers deficit right now. And we could even see cannon galleon in a moment. Max is sitting on 5 docks. His opponent is also on 5 docks. Jordan is gonna have to add a couple more docks here though, because his production is really low. So I think the name of the game right now for Jordan is Trebs in here. Indeed, he's coming in here with the Trebs already. Then Galleon, Faetorias. You kind of have to start adding Faetorias here if you're Jordan, because you kind of have some population space available. In case your opponent starts switching into Galleons, Karak could be a good upgrade as well. You don't need it right now because you are not really in the need of extra Pierce armor. What you need right now though for Jordan is Dry Dock. There is Karak, but oftentimes I'm saying that Karak is something that you should prioritize, but that is only in Galleon versus Galleon wars. Against fast fires you prioritize Dry Dock, because he already has careening, but Dry Dock is something that you really need for the speed of your ships. Doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, Max knows that this is over. He's not gonna be able to push this castle. His wood lines here are getting denied. I'm not sure what prompted this GG from him, but I think he starts to realize that, yeah, he's not getting these islands back anytime soon. Jordan is sitting on 3 relics, and Jordan has been playing this one really well. Honestly, if this was the other way around with Civilization, so it was Italians versus for Jordan and Portuguese for Max, it would have probably had the same result, because it wasn't decided by the Civ, it was decided by the fact that Max went for a front dog galley play, and that is just not something that you should ever do. You see why now. As we are gonna have an even set over here. Jordan evens it out against the Max. So that means that we will go into game number 3, and that is going to be on the home map of Max. Max loses Italians, and the Portuguese is going to be the win save here for Jordan. And Max will pick either Bay, Gold Rush, or Slopes. Yeah, overlay says 0-0. That is because I forgot to set it up. It's actually 1-1 now, but this is a different scoreboard than what is built into Capture Age, and I always forget to update this. But now it should be good. So 1-1 right now is the score line, and we will soon have the next game coming up. This was definitely Jordan's stronger home maps, so that's something that we have to keep in mind though. And it's also important indeed that there is no Italians on Bay, which would be a very, very strong civilization against potentially Mongols. Although, I think, yeah, let's talk about civilizations while we're waiting over here. So Bay could be Persians. I think hideout Cross will be Huns. Bay could be, I think Bay is gonna be Japanese. Cross will be Huns. Slopes could be Indians, but that could just be a bait. Hideout is likely going to be Khmer, although Gold Rush could be Khmer as well. But I think it's gonna be Berbers for Gold Rush, Khmer for Hideout, Indians or actually Japanese for Bay, Huns or Persians, most likely Huns, but Persians could also be an option on a cross. And you pick either Indians or potentially what is left from the Persian Hun combo for slopes. Other side, we're gonna have probably like Mongols could be good for slopes. Britons will be the Gold Rush Civ, I think. Byzantines feels like one for cross. Teutons, I think, is the hideout Civ pick. But Britons could be one as well over there. I think Jordan has a lot of versatility here. It's pretty hard to predict his civilizations. Many of his civs are useful on multiple maps. Let's see if they got the game up. So Jordan versus Max, round 3. And we're going to Bay. And that is going to be a restart, apparently. It is a restart because the lobby just disappeared. So who is restarting? That's the question. We don't know that. I think both players have one restart. But it seems like we had one just now. So let's go back to the civilizations for a moment. As I said, it's a plain and simple scenario right now. Whoever wins this series is gonna be getting into the main event of Hidden Cup 4, whereas whoever is losing is out of the tournament. They will actually be able to get some prize money for themselves, but obviously everybody is dreaming about the main event of Hidden Cup. It's so close yet so far for either of these players. You have to win 3 more games for either of them to get there. In fact, the prize money, we can actually check that out. The prize money during the qualifiers will be $200 for the players that are losing in the last round. As a comparison, if you get into the Hidden Cup main event, even if you exit in the first round, you will get $1,500. So the difference between qualifying and non-qualifying financially is huge. So, as I said, if you qualify but lose immediately, it's $1,500. If you do not qualify but lose in this round, it's only $200. So, with that, we're gonna have a Bay coming in here for game number 3. And if you have a Persians versus Mongols setup, interesting that Japanese will not be used here, which means that Japanese might actually go for slopes. We have seen a lot of civilizations being picked on slopes. So I'm somewhat surprised about this setup, but I understand the concept behind this one. We have a Persians versus Mongols play. Japanese could be good for cross, but there is Huns available as well. I feel like Japanese in this scenario are more likely to be a candidate for slopes because of the cheaper lumber camps and mills and the men-at-arms opening. And you can use Huns on a cross. Indians, I feel like, is just a bait. Indians are too predictable, and as I said, very, very under or very, very overrated for a map like slopes. I don't think that Indians will actually be picked here, or it would be a massive strategical mistake from Max, so to say, to pick that. So with that, we will have Max versus Jordan over here on Bay. Welcome to game number 3. We're going to have Jordan playing as red once again in the right side, and left side is going to be TheMax playing as blue in Persians. So there's a lot to love about Mongols on this map. In Hidden Cup 3, it was basically the exclusive civilization pick for this map because there was a lot more hunt close to the players' bases. Now the hunt is a lot more spread out, which means that Mongols are no longer overpowered, yet you could still potentially move out and grab some of the hunt for yourself, and still the fact that you're gathering from boars faster helps immensely when it comes to like early food eco, and potentially getting to fuel age faster. And it seems like Max is gonna go for something that's of an unconventional play over here. You see that he goes for the fast dog play of Persians, something that's actually very, very underrated on this map, and overall with Persians. There's very few civs that can do this. Lithuanians is the other one, and that's a very fast dog for Max, and you see that he's bringing in all his tricky and sneaky builds into this one, because this is, even though not completely unconventional, but not really a standard play from Persians. as he gets the dock up first. I think he will be able to get one fishing ship out early. This is a much harder build than it actually looks like. But Max so far has been executing this one really well. You see only 2 seconds of TC idle time, and he already has a fishing ship out, and that fishing ship helps immensely for your early eco. So really, this start here has been pretty outstanding for Max. Just like in the previous game he also had a massive advantage when it comes to actually starting the game. But after that, there was some sloppy moments for him, and eventually he fell behind. Now, I think that I like Persians here a little bit better than Mongols, because eventually Mongols want to go for archers, but probably the path towards that leads through crossbows, and that means that those crossbows could be exposed to Persian knights very early on. Is it always good to dock before lumber camp? Depends. I think docking before lumber camp isn't necessarily right with the majority of the civs. And the reason why is because you need the villagers on food to gather food to keep the TC working. There's only very few civilizations that are actually capable of doing this one. Persians is one of them, and Lithuanians is the other. So with any other civilization, you don't dock before lumber camp, because then you have to collect wood for a lumber camp, and during that you can't collect food, and your TC is just going to be idle because of that. But this is a very clean and nice build for Max over here. Other side, Jordan will have one villager stuck over here on wood as he's just getting his first dock up. He also went 5 on wood before sending out that villager for the dock, protecting his villager with his scout loosely. Max still has one fishing ship only. He's going to start adding the second one just now. But that was a nice and consistent one villager lead throughout Dark Age for him, which is going to give him a nice edge over Mongols. So in very late game, I love Mongols over Persians, but I feel like mid game, so before Mangadai, is the part where I feel like Mongols could be in trouble against Persians. Second board just in now for Max, coming in a little too early because the other one still has 100 food on it. Let's look at the maps of the players. Woodlands at the back are nice for Max, so are the berries. Stone is always on the front, so that's not a surprise over here. The gold isn't great, and there is no back gold mine for Max. So this is something that you have to keep in mind. You could actually wall in front, but still that's going to be a little problematic. Other side, Jordan's gold mine is slightly better. The stone isn't great. And eventually, his base is going to be very easily wallable. Back wood line is nice. I like that he's taking the wood on the front first and leaves this one kind of for an emergency situation. And at the end of the day, this is basically going to be a 5-6 seconds fuel age advantage from Jordan. So this is actually a very nice and clean build from Max. Able to catch up with the Mongol player into fuel age. That is excellent from him. Needs to force drop the food though. And he seems like he doesn't have enough. So this build was actually tighter than Max expected apparently, and he's gonna settle with a 21 seconds TC idle time. Not necessarily ideal, but I feel like against Mongols that have a very fast feudal age, you kinda have to do it anyways, because otherwise you could just fall behind in feudal age timing and get overrun by fire galleys here. So 3 on gold for Jordan, no surprise about that, standard galley rush over here. And on the other side, same play is going to be made by Max. Now, Jordan is 10 seconds ahead into fuel age, but you also have to consider that there is faster working docks for Max and higher HP docks. So what this means for us is that at the end of the day, I think that the fire galley numbers will be relatively even, and we could actually see a long and sustained fire galley fight over here. It seems like Max is able to lay one sheep from the opponent over here, but that's all that he can actually go for. So neither of the players are holding themselves up, which is really standard, I would say. It's a matter of, as long as you're not getting pushed on land, you're fine playing open. So docks are up, and as you see, eventually, I think the fuel age difference isn't going to be that big to compensate Jordan for the faster working Persian docks. You see that this ship is right now at 40%, Jordan's are at 60%. There is going to be a couple of seconds difference between those fire galleys popping, but not something that's enormous by any means. Scout fight coming in here. The first hit was apparently delivered by Max, but Jordan might have even used his scout to lure in a boar. I don't know, but He actually lost a lot of HP on that scout, which is definitely problematic. Here come the fire galleys though, and there's already a repair voyager in for both players. Now, considering that Max has more HP on that scout, this is dangerous for Jordan, because if Jordan loses his scout or he just doesn't have his scout close by, then Max could try to snipe the repair voyager with his own scout, and I think that that is the idea. So, 2 dogs for both players, going for fire galleys, next batch of ships coming in here very, very soon. And you have to keep in mind that even the idle time on the fishing ships could be a huge factor. And some more fire guys out. Demo on the way for Max over here. Jordan still plays with just pure fire galleys for the time being. As this is gonna be so far well defended by Jordan. You have to keep in mind that Jordan actually is getting a little bit more pushed, so there is a bit more idle time on his fishing ships, as you see over here. This fishing ship has been idle, and it may not seem like it's much, but it could actually be a factor. At the end of the day, there is the demo. The demo ideally wants to connect and destroy combat ships here, but if he's actually capable of sinking a couple of fishing ships as well, that's going to be reasonable as well. As the demo is waiting for the opportunity to strike. This demo is extremely important, so it has to get a good connection, and Jordan splits away very nicely in the last second. That demo didn't connect really well, but the first casualty on the water in this game is on the side of Jordan. Loses 1 fire galley over here, and there's another demo coming in. There's another demo, and Jordan splitting away in the last second, but once again, that fire galley was severely damaged, and now Jordan has 6 fire galleys against only 3 on the water. And it seemed like Max will also see that Jordan is moving out for the hunt here to get a little extra eco for himself. That's not something that Max is doing. In fact, Max is actually trying to go for a land aggression. You see, there is a barracks already coming in. For Max, we could see a couple of scouts or potentially archers trying to push away those voyagers from the hunt. Now, the hunt is actually going to give a nice little extra eco to Jordan, but you have to consider that he's very, very close to losing water here, because it is 7 fire galleys and 1 demo versus only 3 fire galleys. And I think there is 1 demo over here as well. And indeed, the fishing ships here are going down really fast for Jordan. I'm not sure if he just doesn't want to react to this one, or he just forgot about it. But it seems like he will now actually unleash a demo and try to demo snipe the opponent's fish. This should be a demo trade over here from Max. And Max is winning water pretty decisively, as I'm saying that he wasted the demo over there really badly. But still, Max is winning water, and Jordan seems to bail out on this, in fact. No more ships coming from him. Goes for a range. We'll see if that is something that Max sees, though, and the answer is no. And here's the deal. When your opponent loses water, you have to start walling yourself up immediately, otherwise you will get pushed by some land units. And I think soon Max is going to realize that his archers up against him. He might actually intercept one that's coming in here. Jordan's scout is low HP, so it won't actually be able to do much of a damage. And it's, I think, a mistake from Max that he's going for archers, because his opponent already has better archer numbers. I think he might see the range now. No, he still doesn't see the range. If he sees the range, he has to go for skirms, because he's going to fall behind in archer numbers, and you need to be able to protect your gold mine, that's all. Max also invested indeed a lot to water, which could be something to monitor. Oftentimes you see players investing very heavily into combat ships, and that actually backfires. And here come the archers from Jordan. And the problem that Max is facing, as I said, is he's getting outnumbered in terms of archer numbers. Fletching is already on the way for Jordan, and Max is off from gold, could potentially lose a villager. And if these were skirms, this would be an easy defense for Max. Now, it's 2 archers versus 2, so he should have no trouble defending, but he's gonna have to mix in a couple of skirms to do that. Jordan has some demos in here, so he will try to demo snipe the fishing eco of his opponent. But you also have to consider that because Jordan is the one pushing on land, he's gonna have an untouched way moving into the hunt, and that's going to help quite a bit with Mongols. So the combination of applying pressure and being able to secure the hunt that way actually helps really well for Jordan, as he's picking off all these archers. Very, very nice micro from Jordan right now. It seems like Max is going to secure the water for himself, but the land could be really, really problematic, as there is a significant push coming in here from Jordan, more archers on the way. And if you look at land military numbers, it's 2 skirms against 6 archers. This scout could also get picked off really easily, as Max... Honestly, Max might need a defensive tower. If Max gets a defensive tower up here, he should be fine. Or he just wants to defend with skirmishers, tries to go for a second range for now. So Max's eco is boosted by the fishing ships, as Jordan is trying to look for a good demo snipe attempt, but that's not going to happen. In fact, he just damages one fire guy. That was a very, very bad moment over there for him. Max trying to buy himself up to castle here, but his skirmisher numbers are still not impressing me. And even though there is armor on those guys, as I said, the numbers are something that I'm not impressed about. Nice voice from Max, but yeah, this one is actually voted in. So I think Max is going to be able to hold. He's got double ranges now. He can actually hold with skirms. Goes for a little market walling over here to prevent the archers from flooding in. But if you look at the resources, Jordan is beating him to Castle Age. Oftentimes you're seeing that the player that has water is going to beat the opponent into Castle Age because of the extra food that he's getting from it. But you have to consider the Mongol hunt, even though now Jordan is taking an awful fight. So he got caught off guard by all these skirmishers pushing him, and we might see knights coming in from him. Indeed, there is going to be a second range and a stable. So he will continue with knights and crossbows. An alternative would be, and that would be a very, very interesting possible to think about, is maybe cav archers. No, there is more archers coming from Jordan. So this has to be crossbows and probably a couple of knights against the skirmishers. But cav archers is something that he could consider early on. Jordan trying to get another fire galley out here. And as the pawn starts running out of food, suddenly the ecos will equalize. And really Jordan's extra food from the hunt is going to start helping him out more than the fishing eco helps for Max. So it seems like Max is going to go back to archers over here. And so Jordan is adding more and more archers. No upgrades on any cavalry. So that's just going to be a couple of auxiliary knights to deal with the skirms. Still, the fact as Jordan is trying to go in with another demo to snipe the fishing eco, but that's going to be once again impossible. Loses the demo before the fishing ships will be killed. So the fact that Jordan applied pressure on the opponent means that he was having an untouched hunting eco, and he also has a couple of sneaky archers coming back over here. I think he's waiting for a crossbowman upgrade with these before unleashing them. This hole was just plugged in by Max, so it could have actually done a lot more damage. Now the skirmishers are pushing in here, but there is probably already a knight coming in here for Jordan. He's a little too low on gold. He prioritizes Botkin over the first knight, which could make sense. Hits Max's woodline just a little too early, to be honest. If these were crossbows earlier, this could have been a lot more damage done. Crossbows also launching a counterattack over here. It is 8 archers from Max, but he is not up to Castle Age yet. Whereas his opponent is already going for TC number 2. That's a very, very important TC on that gold mine. And we're going to have a couple of knights in. Now Jordan officially loses water in this one. And we even have a new scout coming in from Jordan. And the grand plan here is just trying to push this gold mine. Crossbows on the way as well for Max, as Max is using the fire galleys to pick off the scout. Skirmishers will be safe for the time being. And apparently Jordan is expanding pretty rapidly over here. 3 TCs already for him. Mixing a couple of camos as well. So he's expecting knights from his opponent. But the reality is that it's a triple range play from Max, going for elite skirms. So I think that at this point you're probably expecting the Persian player to go for knights indeed, because Persian knights deal more damage to archers. So it would make a lot of sense to just go for those. But it seems like Max wants to play with triple ranges. And it's mostly going to be crossbow skirmisher from him. And we'll see if Jordan actually tries sniping down the fishing ships here. That would be something that you consider. And crossbows picking off the fire ships over here. And this way Jordan could actually idle his opponent's fishing eco, as the crossbows will now come out for Max as well. Max gets +1 defense. That's not something that Jordan has. Neither players has ballistics over here. But there is a lead skirm for Max, and for whatever reason we see camos from Jordan. I think he was expecting knights, but reality, as I said, is that there is no knights on the field. And Max has taken a very, very good engagement over here. Overall, the KD is heavily in his favor, 26-16. And those fire galleys are helping out quite a lot when it comes to securing these units from melee units. That being said, there is free TCs for Jordan. He's not on stone just yet. He's floating a lot of wood though. Whereas his opponent is just getting TC number 3 up. So Jordan's going to have a nice and comfy 5, 6, 7 villagers lead, I think. Soon, a second stable on the way. So we're going to see more and more knights on the way for Jordan. Now, Mongol knights are alright. Although Persians can always mix in their own camos to deal with them, so we'll see what happens with that. And it looks like Jordan's gonna cancel the stable and instead goes for a siege workshop. So he probably wants to continue with crossbows and support that with mangonels instead of additional knights, which makes some sense because it's much easier to get to a couple of mangonels than it is to tech a lot into knights. But that siege workshop might actually go denied. Camels coming in from the other side. I think that Jordan is going to be able to get that workshop up, but I'm not sure if this is going to be a good fight for him. He might need to take a rather uncomfortable fight here, losing most of his crossbows, but the workshop goes up. We'll see if Max mixes in some knights, and he won't. Max only has 16 on food here, very, very heavy on gold he is, whereas his opponent, Jordan, has 21 on food. That's a very, very well-balanced deco for our German player. So, here is leather archer armor coming in for Max. So he wants to continue with all those crossbows, but eventually he's gonna have to make a tech switch because Persians don't have arbalest. So because of that, there's just no hope for Max to be able to continue with crossbows. So that's actually a good scenario for Jordan, that his opponent is gonna have to make a tech switch, which is gonna be just as difficult as a tech switch of Mongols over here. Now Jordan sends vultures to stone, so I feel like if Max doesn't start becoming a little bit more aggressive, then he will just let Jordan get into the ideal composition of Light Cav, Siege Ram, and Mangadai. You can't actually just wait until Mongols boom up. Like, Mongols in post-Imperial on this map might be a GG, to be honest. So, I feel like Max has to be a lot more aggressive here, but he's playing very, very defensive right now. He might even lose a couple of vultures over here, and Jordan is going to be super, super happy that he's not getting pushed. Look at Jordan's resources. Jordan is already thinking about going into Imperial here. And he will go into Imperial, drop a castle, get a couple of Mangodais, and honestly, if he's not getting pushed, he might even drop a castle some round over here. He tries to push this woodland, but that's going to be unsuccessful. Now Max is hoping for a breakout as the Mangonel is chasing this down. Mangonel coming from the other side as well. And the Camels will try diving in on that Mangonel and try to snipe it down. Mangonel coming from the other side misses the target. And there's very, very little killing done actually in this couple of last minutes. Nice ground tag there from Max. Misses the target though. And Max is also thinking about imping here. So eventually, Jordan is very close to clicking up. He does have 2 buildings, and it's gonna be another TC first. So Max isn't super far away either, but Jordan is gonna have like half a minute advantage going into Imperial, though I would say. The problem that he's facing is that he's gonna be faster to Imperial, but he's gonna have no army, which, well, is something that is very, very common with Mongols on this map, and that's something that is going to happen for Max as well, to be honest, because Max is also going to have a Castle Age army over here reaching Imperial. Max, however, still not clicking up, and that's going to be painful for him if that gets delayed, because the first castle for Jordan is going to stop any kind of Mangonel aggression in Castle Age, and that castle is getting closer and closer. There's a market for Jordan. I wonder if he wants to buy himself a castle, because you kind of have to start getting your Mangadai numbers up, or you transition to Cav Archers. No, it's more crossbows from Jordan. More crossbows from him. Interesting that he's going for so many ranges. It seems like this is not going to be an immediate Mangadai play. This kind of feels like it's going to be Cav Archers after all. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Mongols don't have Arbalest, right? Or do they? They might have Arbalest. If they have Arbalest, they are missing something from it, which I think... I have no idea, honestly. Mongols Arbalest would be very, very, very out of the box. Okay, they have Arb. They have Bracer, they have Tumbling, that's fine. Are they missing +4 defense? Yeah, I was thinking about the +4 defense, because Bracer is obvious that they have it. They're missing the last armor. Well, in that case, that's actually alright. I mean... it is a very, very hard tech switch to tech switch from crossbows into Mangadai immediately. So the Arbalest play actually makes sense, believe it or not. There is going to be Imperial Age coming in here for Max, and here's the problem that Jordan is facing. Yeah, you're gonna have Arbalests, but your opponent is gonna have Persian Knights or Cavalier, and those Cavalier will just eat your Arbs. So eventually Jordan's gonna have to tech into what could be Camels now. And it seems like Jordan's not going to play Mangudai. He will play Arbalest Camel, right? Here's the Arbalest coming in for him. And Jordan jukes the first Mangonel shot, takes a shot, and finishes this one off. So, Arbalest and Camel from Mongols, what year are we in, ladies and gentlemen? There's also no Bracer. No Bracer from Jordan, hello? Hello, Jordan? Okay, now there is Bracer. So, eventually this is gonna be Mangudai, but he's going to delay that quite heavily. The problem is that in this case, especially if there isn't really a lot of Camels, the Cavaliers could overrun this one very easily, but here's the deal. These Arbalests are already here, and Max still needs a lot of upgrades. Max only has scale barding, so yeah, you could have Cavalier, but I think Max forgot about chain barding while he was going up. Because he needs those upgrades immediately, and Jordan already has a huge villager lead, and sure, you have knights, and now it's ring archer armor. So it seems like we're actually gonna have lead skirms after all, but that feels like a GG-ish moment here, because as I said, all Jordan needs is just a bit of a time until he actually gets to Mangudai, and now he's got enough stone for a castle. You could even make a case for dropping a castle here right now if you're on Jordan. You got a big lead, and the problem is that these Cavalier are going to be going nowhere anytime soon, because ring archer armor is fine for the skirmishers, and the problem, however, is that you're not getting the defense upgrades for your cavalry, so cavalry is going to be no factor at all. I think Thumb Ring is missing for Jordan, but he's getting cavalry armor in for Camels. 93 villagers get 119, and Jordan takes a firm control over this game. And as I said, in post-Imperial, I love Mongols over Persians here as well. There's the first castle, so I feel like it starts to become a kind of a matter of time type of a question here. Jordan's gonna lose a couple of Arbs, that's for sure. In fact, he's gonna get his army trapped in here, and he takes a rather disadvantageous engagement. However, you have to consider that at this point, I think Jordan has done enough damage with this one, and right now his opponent is sitting on a bunch of skirmishers that will never have Bracer, because that's something that Persians do not have. But I think Jordan has done enough damage with this, because Max's cavalry is going to be delayed for long, and by the time it actually arrives, there's going to be heavy camos from Jordan, and even more importantly, this is actually going to be Mangudai eventually. Like, you see that first conscription, there's chain barding, but you see that he's going to have heavy camo before Max even gets to Cavalier. So, what this means is that the camos will just be able to overrun the knights, and yeah, there's a couple of skirmishers over here. You could actually play with crossbows, but neither of those are amazing when it comes to killing fully upgraded heavy camos. Like, those crossbows without Bracer, yeah, they will kill them eventually, but they lack mobility. They do lack firepower as well to kill a large group of camos. So this might be a full camo play from Jordan, even though now he's teching into light cav. Mangudai coming in. I feel like Jordan is just having a firm control over this one. He's always one step ahead of Max. He's already teching into light cav, and he's able to afford tech switches, whereas for Max, it is much harder to afford those. There's a couple of camos coming in on the left side, get some damage done. And the problem that Max is facing is that, look at this, now he's switching into barracks for halberdiers to deal with the camos, but by the time that happens, he's gonna get raided by light cav, and by the time he switches into halberdier, he's gonna be facing Mangudai, he's gonna be facing potentially onagers or rams. He's just always one step behind here. His eco is weaker, and the thing is that he wasn't really aggressive enough, I think, in Castle Age. You just allow the Mongol player to go for full boom over here, basically. And Jordan was able to get... Like, Jordan didn't even force going for Mangudai really early on. He could have gone for a lot greedier play with all Mangudai. Instead, Jordan went for heavy camel Arbalest. Jordan could have a lot more Mangudai out of the field if he actually wanted to go for that immediately. But he decided to play the safer way, which is something I like. And this castle, that's a doubt castle. And there is not really a lot of light cav on the field right now for Jordan, so he's gonna have to wait a little bit. Mangonel comes out as well. Because those aren't Arbalests and they do not have the range, that also makes them way worse against Mangonels. So, like, Arbalests would actually eat Mangonels, but Commanderan crossbows, even though these guys do not have Commanderan, but they're actually not gonna eat those. And it looks like Max is going for a big counterattack over here, tries to get a castle up on the face of the opponent, but behind this one, Jordan is raiding him to death. There is a couple of pikemen soon to be halberdier on the field, but Jordan pushes Max down to 100 Warriors only. A couple of Warriors will be picked off over here as well. Jordan placing outposts all over the place to make sure that he's gonna know if Max wants to move out, and he kind of plays for gold eco denial. These camels will pretty much be sacrificed for the sake of killing a couple more Warriors. And here come the light cap, and I feel like this might be the end of the story here for Max, because those skirmishers will get cleaned up, and I think that this castle isn't going up indeed. Max knows as well, as Jordan takes a very, very convincing second game. I feel like Max didn't... Like, once again, I feel like Max's strategy was the problematic part, and not necessarily the execution. He just played too passive in Castle Age, and you can't do that against Mongols. Mongols is a top 5 post-Imperial civilization in this game, especially on such a map, which is quite open for raiding. So, at the end of the day, he should have been a lot more proactive in Castle Age. He just allowed Jordan to boom up into Imperial, get Arbalest out, and Jordan was able to do quite a lot of damage with those archers. At the end of the day, if you look at the Voyager KD, it's 52 Voyagers killed by Jordan, and only 4 by Max. And 3 out of those 4 units have been fishing ships. Max was able to kill a single Voyager from his opponent on land, whereas Jordan killed 52 overall. Very nicely done by Jordan. Pretty clean game from him, I have to say, and decision-making wasn't the sharpest in the last 2 games from Max, and after winning Arabia, he's now down by a game. It's the best of 7, so Jordan still needs 2 more games. There's a lot of comeback potential here for Max, but I feel like I'm seeing what I expected at the beginning of this series. Jordan feels a lot more convincing. Max has had some good moments, but he didn't convince me in the previous rounds either. And Jordan was very, very good in the last rounds as well, even though it was a narrow and close series against Kaposh. But after Jordan beat Kaposh, I actually said that I feel like he just got through the strongest opponent in this part of the bracket, and I might be right. Obviously, there's a lot of comeback potential here for Max, so it's just 1 game deficit. There's 4 more games to be played potentially, so Max is gonna be still having a huge chance to come back, but you have to add that this was Max's first home map. So Jordan lost Arabia, but after that he won both of the home maps, and one of them was on the opponent's one. So Max loses Persians, and Jordan loses Mongols over here. And we will see if we go to Gold Rush or Slopes. And we will have Japanese, Huns, Khmer, Berbers available for Max alongside Indians. I think if it's Gold Rush, it feels like it's going to be Berbers or Khmer. For Slopes, it feels like Japanese or Indians to me. So we will see what Max decides upon. But Jordan looking very promising right now. And I'm not even sure if Jordan played in a single Hidden Cup so far. We will have to check it on Wikipedia, but we don't really have time for that because we're going to Slopes, and Max is going for, once again, a decision that I would massively, massively dislike. Jordan is playing left Britons in red, something that we have seen quite a lot in the previous round of the qualifiers, and GL also has the tendency to play Britons on these semi-open maps. We have seen that on Haboob multiple times in Red Bull Low 3 qualifiers and main event. Other side is gonna be the massively, 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 massively overrated Indians. In this one, I just really dislike this civilization. In Hidden Cup 3, Indians were a great civ on this map because you had so much shorefish, but you're actually picking Indians here for, at best, 4 tiles of shorefish. Yeah, I'm just zooming in on a goose right now. But it's only 2 tiles here, 2 tiles here, which could be denied by a Drush, which could be denied by a Men-at-Arms opening. And in exchange, you sacrifice your knights. Like, just completely not having knights is a problem. Remember that the Pierce armor has been nerfed as well for Indian camels. So I feel like Indians is by far the most overrated civilization in here. And really, it kind of feels like Max And basically any player that is picking Indians for this one, they kind of feel like, oh yeah, it's Hidden Cup free. And I understand the concept. They are like, okay, whatever, I'm gonna be picking Indians for the Shorefish. But it is also worth noting that it's much easier to drush this Shorefish now, because at the end of the day, as we have a Scout War over here, Jordan has the upper hand in that. So at the end of the day, this is much harder to wall off as well, because this is a marshlands terrain. In the previous version of this map, it was a single pond, so you could wall off your villagers easily. By making it marshlands, it's much harder to wall off as well. Didn't you use that 4,000? I think it wasn't 4,000 of Shorefish each, it was more. In the previous version, you had one pond on one side full of Shorefish. It was a clear pond, not marshlands, so it was easy to wall off the villagers. And other side was only hunt. So one side only pond, one side only hunt. It was random which side was which. But now, what they did is, because in the previous round, or previous version, everybody picked Indians here for the Shorefish. What they did is distribute the ponds on two sides and lower the amount of Shorefish in them, and add hunt to both sides. But I feel like now, Mongols is actually more reasonable than Indians here. Mongols are very good in other maps as well, but Mongols would get the hunt bonus, Mongols would get the hunting bonus on the outside, and the Shorefish is still a reliable food income with Mongols. And it looks like we're going to have what is a premium drush here from Max. I really don't know what he's up to, but he hasn't moved out to the Shorefish either. He hasn't moved out to the Shorefish. If he's not taking any fish, that's a disaster for Max here. How do Britons do versus Indians? They do well enough. The Indian camels have the extra pierce armor, but they don't really have the damage output to kill mass crossbows. So here comes the drush from Max as he brings in his second boar, but currently it seems like he could be playing any other civilization here. So he will be moving out to the other pawn right now, but by the time it actually starts happening, I feel like Jordan's gonna be more than happy. And oh, I like this. This is a sneaky lumber camp on the outside, right? Is it? No, it's not. Okay, it's just gonna be for a mill, but in that case, I don't know why the villagers are heading this way. For a moment, I thought he's gonna try a sneaky lumber camp on the outside, but nope, he's got one over here back at home. Ready. And Jordan also has his own drush coming in here, so third militia on the way for him as well. The drushes will cancel, and that means that if you just think it over, how much of a benefit Indians will get from this Shorefish over other civilizations? Not an awful lot. It's not enough Shorefish here to justify Indians, I feel like. Yeah, obviously you're gonna have a slightly better eco, but if you actually add Britons here that have faster gathering rate from their sheep, that probably compensates it quite nicely. Jordan already has Loom over here on those villagers, so that's not going to be a thing for Max, and he loses a lot of HP on that scout as well. This drush isn't really working out so far. So Jordan actually going for some very ambitious walls over here as he's chasing down that drush. So here's the deal, as I said, these villagers will gather faster from the Shorefish, sure, but Jordan is gonna have those villagers on the Shorefish as well, and he's got villagers on the berries, or not the berries, but on the herdables, which means that he is gonna be able to catch up most likely. He will still be a little bit behind in fuelage time, but if you take a look at Max, this is actually ending up being a 23 pop-up for what is going to be a drush into archers. But even if Britons reach fuel a little bit later, because it seems like Jordan is also going for a drush archers play, even if Jordan reaches fuel age later, he's gonna be fine because he's got faster working ranges, and if you are Jordan right now, you kill this hunt. Because you want to limit the opponent's ability to use this pond. Jordan also finishing off with the first tile of Shorefish, and you see that at the end of the day, there is about 120 food left in this pond, 170 for Jordan. So right now, Max probably gathered 50 more food from Shorefishing than his opponent did. It turns out Max turns this into a tower rush and a Man-at-Arms play. I don't think that was the original idea here. I think he's afraid of the fact that Jordan is going for a Drush FC, something that we have seen quite frequently in previous rounds, As now Jordan is going to send his militias to the other side, and boom, goodbye that pond. There goes all the eco bonus that you're gonna get with Indians. And that's why I don't like Indians pick here. They're just so much focused on those fish that if you lose it, it's kind of eh. Anyways, there is still a lot of potential for Max in this one, as he's getting man-at-arms at forward range even. And that's gonna be towers too. And it seems like Max actually wants to get all his villagers to the other pond over here, but Jordan already has that, so he's not gonna get a lot from that. And Jordan could also pull his militias to get the villagers killed in here. Now Jordan sees that there is towers coming up here, he's gonna have to re-wall behind. His gold mine isn't quite exposed though, but he's got another gold mine at the back, so that's gonna be alright. Indeed, Jordan is just going to say, okay, whatever, I'm gonna give up on that gold mine. Far from ideal, but it works out for him. And we are gonna have a range coming in here. And is it another tower from Max? It isn't. Max doesn't have any villagers on stone, so that's just a single tower for him, which means that these villagers won't be able to do much here now. There's gonna be men-at-arms and archers out, but Max isn't actually able to afford a lot of archers. In fact, he's going for skirmishers right now. Villagers are in here, and the man-at-arms are being pulled to this side. Jordan is gonna have to evacuate this side, as he will be able to yoink Max's scout here. Nice move from him. And the only problem Max is facing is that he's gonna have to invest into a mill here if he actually wants to be successful on the hunt. And for now, the tower is gonna be walled in, although Jordan could just delete the power side here and just rush it down if he wants to, but he probably doesn't want to. He's got a gold mine at the back. I wonder if Max knows about the gold mine, because Max knows about the gold mine. In that case, this tower rush is questionable, because he should probably be aware of the fact that his opponent has another gold, so it's not like he can deny gold whatsoever. So Max seems like he's actually moving out for a hunt here. I mentioned that I feel like Jordan should have destroyed, not destroyed, but killed the deer here, because that could have been very helpful. So I now like what Max is doing with Indians. I really hate the Indians pick here, but his game plan is actually pretty good now. So he's trying to actually use the hunt and the fish over here, although the militias were still lurking around for Jordan. Jordan could have even gone for the man-at-arms upgrade if he wanted to, but instead he's just using the militias, picks off one villager, and this completely distracts Max. The first villager pick of the game happens on this pond, and Max now actually trying to colonize this other pond. Now, the thing is that Jordan's gonna fall behind in eco quite heavily if his opponent is allowed to have all this shorefish and hunt. It's not about the Indian shorefishing here. It is about actually having shorefish and hunt as opposed to just farming eco. However, look at that. Jordan distracts the men-at-arms, and that means that he's pulling his skirmishers and archers in here. And if it doesn't matter that you have all the hunt and shorefish in the world, if you actually start losing villagers left and right. And that is going to be the name of the game for Jordan here. He's going to have to punish Max for these villagers out here, and Max hasn't realized that his villagers are getting chased down right now. Men-at-arms are trying to chase the militias, as the militias are going back to try and kill villagers on the other pond. And really, Jordan is doing an excellent job, just trying to make sure that his opponent isn't actually able to access fish very easily here. Skirmishers are on the field, as Jordan is trying to pick off the archers from the opponent. He's got only one archer. Second one just now comes in. That's a nice fight for Jordan, actually. He could pick off the man-at-arms with the archers, now uses the scout to finish off the skirmisher. That was an excellent fight for Jordan. Cleans this up very nicely. At the end of the day, the food counts is relatively even for both players. The militias are still running around distracting the men-at-arms. But it seems like now Max has fallen back to his opponent. Lost 2 villagers, but also there is a wheelbarrow for him. Okay, that's why. He was behind by quite a lot of villagers, and I was wondering why, but that is because of wheelbarrow here. So, here's the deal. I feel like the main problem that Jordan is facing is that his opponent is able to access shorefish and hunt here. Although now Jordan moves in with the militias and starts killing the hunt. You have to do that, because it's one thing that your opponent has shorefish, and if you're Max, you're doing this exactly. You're shooting the deer, because if you shoot the deer with the villagers, then you kill it before the militias do. So that's a reasonable idea. Both players are actually going for scale boarding here, so we'll see scouts coming in from both sides. Archers, that's a disaster for Max. Where are his units at? Where are Max's units at? If there was a good micro here from Jordan, which apparently isn't the case, he would actually be able to do quite a lot of damage. The scouts now arrive, So this is going to be a cleanup, as Jordan is going to see those +1 defense scouts, but he could have killed 2 or 3 villagers here before those scouts arrive over here. He lost that army ultimately, but he is also getting villagers out here. Jordan... it's hard to say who has the edge in this one. This is an absolutely chaotic game here. But looking at the resource, it feels like it's Max. It's not from the Indians here, it's about the game plan. It's about being able to access Hunt versus not being able to access Hunt here. And I feel like Jordan didn't expect these villagers to be out here. And those resources are looking very, very good for Max. And when he reaches Castle Age, I feel like Cav Archers could be the play from him for mobility. So Max seems like he has a nice edge into Castle Age, although you have to add that when the food runs out of these Huntables, suddenly the ecos will be pretty much even. So I'm not even sure if Max is going to have that big of a lead into Castle Age. So Jordan has 6 villagers lead, but his opponent does have Wheelbarrow. That is still, however, a 4 villagers lead somehow. I don't exactly know how, because there's only 2 villagers killed, and PC idle times are actually pretty comparable. But at the end of the day, you see that the hunt has run out, and now the ecos are dead even. In fact, it's even worse for Max. Max has 7 farmers, whereas Jordan has 17. Jordan is actually going to beat Max into Castle Age here. You get a nice resource spike from all the hunt and shorefish, but when it runs out, suddenly your eco is going to be much, much weaker, because you just don't have a well-developed farming eco. Jordan is on a lot of farms without horse color, which is less than ideal, but at the end of the day, Max can only hope for an, at best, even Castle Age time than his opponent, and he also had to buy himself up, whereas Jordan didn't have to. Holy smokes. Holy smokes here. I think Jordan once again has a bit of a lead here. And at the end of the day, it's actually double range from Jordan. He has a stable up, so we could see a couple of knights as well. But I feel like he just wants to play pure crossbows here. And he does take a reasonable engagement here. The skirmishers are being focused down by the archers and the scouts, which means that the spearmen are alive. And that means that the scouts are dead. And it's gonna be bloodlines, and here's the problem that Max is facing. Yeah, you're gonna have the pierce armor on the camels, but camels are slow killing archers, and the reason why is because they don't have a great damage output, and that's why you want knights. Because early knights would be able to defeat crossbows. If you have like 10 crossbows out there, you get 6, 7, 8 knights, and those knights will be able to just devastate those crossbows. As we have seen in the Arabia game, that was exactly the scenario in the Arabia game. You had a bunch of crossbows from Jordan, but suddenly knights just overrun them. But in this case, there is no knight. And that's the problem that Max is facing right now. So here is what is Max even up to? Where is his stable at? His stable is over here, and it seems like we're actually going to see light cav. The problem with the light cav is that, yeah, they're nice, but I'm not sure about the resource efficiency of them. That's the main problem I'm having here. So, Indian Light Cav should be getting the extra pierce armor as well, as you see over here. So it's 2+2. But that's still not impressing me, to be honest. Bloodlines 2+2. The problem that you are facing here is the damage output once again. And it's not a bad idea from Max, but that's sort of the only idea that he could have. And if his opponent mixes in pikemen here, that would be a completely different scenario. That's actually very, very sloppy from Jordan, though. Gets his crossbows intercepted by the light cav. Now tries to take the hill. That's going to be horse-colored boso from Jordan. And Jordan is going to be playing with 3 TCs and University Ballistics here. All of his TCs will be in the valleys, so no outside town centers. Max is going to be playing on 2 TCs. And now the crossbows will break straight into the base of Max. Max would want to take one decisive engagement, but here's the deal. If you mix in a couple of knights here as well, the knights will be an excellent meat shield. Jordan commits to this one and tries to stop that TC from happening. Will actually be able to do that. Light Cav now jumping on top of the crossbows. The problem is that even though the Light Cav have good pierce armor, their HP is not amazing. So you see that, yeah, they're okay-ish, but they're not actually taking decisive engagements here. That's a lot of Light Cav, though. That's a lot of light cav from Max, but you have to wonder the population efficiency, or not the population, but the resource efficiency of this one. because this is actually costing Max a lot of food. And that food would be very well used into actually booming up as well. So yeah, Max cleans this up, but you see that at the end of the day, was this very, very efficient? He's indeed missing the +2 defense upgrade, so these light cav would actually have a lot more pierce armor than normal. As Jordan actually garrisons the TC over here to take down the tower, he could just delete the palisade and run down that tower with the villager. So now Jordan is down to 11 military, and he's gonna have to be careful about those light cav still, because Indian light cav can be devastating. But I feel like what we are going to see here soon is that Jordan could start mixing in either pikemen himself or potentially knights to deal with those early light cavalry. And the pikemen will just eat the light cav very, very easily. So, with that in mind, we are gonna have 3 TCs play for Jordan, going for quite a lot of villagers on stone, which makes me wonder if we're going to see an early castle from him in here. And for Max, it's only 2 town centers boom right now. So you already see that now Jordan has a 10 villagers lead, even though he doesn't have Wheelbarrow. That's still a 7 villagers lead, pure and simple. So 3 TCs from Jordan, fairly consistent production of units. The only thing I don't like is that he doesn't have a couple of spearmen in here. Even just a couple of spearmen, if it's not pikemen, would be reasonable to deal with some of the light cavalry. It looks like Jordan will launch a counterattack with ballistics. He's gonna be able to do quite a lot. It looks like Max is prioritizing husbandry over the +2 defense upgrade for his light cavalry, which would give him +3 pierce armor because of the Indian bonus. So, 3 TC play from Jordan, as we are gonna have only 2 ranges from him. He could easily afford a 3rd range if he wanted to. Picks off 2 villagers on the wood line, make it 6-0 in villager KD. And now he's going to take the hill, try to focus down light cav. Or light cav? What am I talking about? Try to focus down the walls. The light cav are coming back, but it's only 9 light cav versus 22 crossbows. So the numbers are not necessarily in the favor of Max over here either. 12 villagers lead for Jordan now, and that lead is going to grow more and more. There's a 3rd TC out for Max. He wants to go for TC number 4 too. But you also have to consider that Jordan is actually very, very heavy on stone. So a castle seems to be coming up in the foreseeable future. And also, the idle time for Max is crazy. He's going to have to run for his life over here with his villagers. Another 2 villager get picked off. And here comes the defense upgrade for those light calves. This is where things could get a little bit rough for Jordan. But you also have to consider that Jordan could just go for pikemen. In fact, Jordan should be going for pikemen here. He's also denying a lot of farming space. And he could also take a very, very nice narrow choke point here. So yeah, light cav are diving in. But look at this. This is already an achievement from Jordan, believe it or not. He actually forces his opponent to delete the market, which is definitely reasonable. Obviously, he's gonna get his army killed here, which is not ideal, but he's taking down a lot of light cav and forces a market deletion. Nice choke point as well over there for Jordan. I think he gets the maximum, I get it? Maximum out of his army here. And now it's going to be Spearman from Jordan. He already has the next batch of crossbows moving forward, though. And at the end of the day, it's still only 13 light cav from Max over here. If you look at Jordan, however, he's got a almost 20 villagers lead now. And he's going to be mixing in pikemen. And that's the thing that Max is not going to be able to react to, or at least not easily. He will try to save the archer range because he knows that that archer range could be key for potentially switching into cav archers in case there is a full pikeman play from Jordan. Imagine if Jordan actually started making spearmen earlier. Jordan could once again take that narrow little tile over there. That's actually a nice move from him. Not perfect. He could be a little bit more inwards. But once again, he's taking reasonable value here. Jordan is going to have to cancel that castle, though. Here come more spearmen. I think Jordan should have gone for more spearmen, though. Like, he saw the light cav, and he could have gone for it very, very easily. Instead, he wants a castle on this side. The other thing that Jordan could do is actually knights. Just a couple of knights would eat up the light cavalry. So, you actually clean up the majority of those light cavs. It's only 9 light cav right now on the field. For Max, you have a couple of spears out. You can actually get a couple of knights out as well. Knights is a bold choice versus Indians, absolutely. But you don't need those knights to sustain fights. All you need is your knights to buy yourself a bit of a time until you can get to a couple of pikemen. Pikemen would be a lot better in here for Jordan, but if you actually mix in 2 or 3 knights, that actually delays the light cap from killing you. Obviously, your opponent is going to mix in some camos, but the idea is that you want to delay your opponent into actual, you know, being able to overrun you with light cap until you don't have pikemen. It looks like this siege workshop is just going to go down very, very easily, and longbows are actually coming out for Jordan. He's pulling the masterpieces here, ladies and gentlemen. Strikes being picked up by Max, and Max actually is going for Botkin, so we'll soon see elite skirmishers. So, Light Cav will actually do some raiding over here. Still no pikemen from Jordan, though. That actually is very, very annoying for him. But he's going to start forcing engagements over here, and crossbows plus knights could also work quite nicely, because the crossbows will pick off the camos very easily, and the knights will be decent against either the skirmishers or the Light Cav. Light Cav now starting to do some raiding, though, and Jordan has to be careful about this one, because he's got a 20 villagers lead, but a lot of idle time because of this. As at this point he killed 10 villagers, only lost 3 nice quick walls from him, but his TC over there is protected, and now he's switching into pikemen. So he should be able to hold this one. He even takes down this tower. Max is probably focused on microing his light cap here, as the TC should be able to clean this one up. Jordan has a lot of idle time right now on him, but his eco is still going to be more and more powerful, and Max notices the knights running towards him. He's gonna have to quick wall that entire wood line. Some crazy quick walls coming in here. We'll see if the knights can actually break through that palisade, and they will break through the palisade, and that's a disaster for Max. I'm not even sure he's looking over here right now, because he might have thought, okay, this is actually going to be a successful quick wall, I can look elsewhere. But that's a disaster for Max. A lot of villagers will be biting the dust. And in the meanwhile, he's not really doing much for damage to Jordan's base. You see, there's a couple of light cavs out, but it's 9 light cav, 2 camos, 5 elite skirms against a couple of knights killing villagers, 114 villagers at 85, and Jordan is not actually far away from Imperial. In fact, if Jordan gets to Imperial, he's gonna have Arbs, he's gonna have Trebs, and Imperial Age Arbs will just be able to clean up these light cav as well. Indeed, Imperial Age comes in right now. Spearman trying to catch those light cavalry. Even if the light cav kill a couple of villagers, Jordan is gonna have still like a 15-20 villagers lead. At this point, eco upgrades are identical for the 2 players. Jordan is struggling catching up those light cav, though. I have to say that I feel like Jordan is massively investing into pikemen. He is sort of underestimating the potential of light cav raids here. Like, he still doesn't have the pikeman upgrade. He still doesn't have enough defensive spearmen. And yeah, you could say, oh yeah, Jordan's food eco isn't good enough for that. Come on, man, you have so much resources in the bank. Just buy yourself some food and actually get a couple of pikemen on the field. It's not like your opponent has started making light cavs just now. Jordan had like 20 minutes to react to this scout switch over here. So indeed, the only thing that keeps Max in the game right now is that Jordan is just not switching into halberdier or pikemen. So, castle up coming in here for Jordan, and he should be good to go after this one. Don't tell me that, like, he could switch into pikemen. He could switch into pikemen, and he's not doing that right now. So now finally going to be some more pikemen coming out, and we'll have Trebs on this castle for Jordan. I feel like this is just game over for Max. I feel like he will tap out once he sees his opponent is in Imperial. So at this very moment, we have 25 army for Max, half the army value as Jordan's army, and Jordan's gonna be in Imperial in a matter of moments. So that castle goes up, and I think that we'll see a GG in 15 seconds. Max, he will try to go imp himself, but by the time he reaches Imperial, he's going to lose at least this town center, and potentially more over here to Trebs. Jordan up to Imperial, goes for Bracer, and I think he could even stop making longbows for a moment, so that he can actually start getting the Trebs out. No Trebs right now for Jordan, though. I think he needs to add a bit of a siege here to finish off his opponent, because we also see Max stacking into full elite skirm in Imperial. It seems like kept Ram on the way for Jordan, so instead of Trebs, he will be playing with Rams.
Nice quick pause from Jordan over there. The crossbows will try to pick off the light cav. It seems like this was the grand plan for Max. That's probably the reason why he's not tapping out. Because he wants a counterattack here with skirmishers and light cav. If you are Jordan, you consider dropping a castle somewhere around over here. It's gonna be tricky. I don't know where exactly you would drop that. Maybe leave this house, these farms, and drop a castle here. But I think... Oh, that's an ambitious one from Jordan. Welcome to the club of the outcastles. That's not going up, my friend. I don't think it matters, honestly. Because if you just look at the pure army numbers and just the way that Max's eco looks like, Max could be in trouble. Although I still believe that Jordan should add traps here. Because yeah, the Rams are nice, but if you look at the villager counts, it's not like Jordan is completely annihilating Max here. 2 traps would help so much at destroying these buildings instead of just trying to take down those buildings. That's the Imp TC, by the way. If Jordan had traps here, he would be trapping down those Imp TC. That's actually... I think I would have probably used this TC as an Imp TC, but it's a tricky one because you don't know if this is gonna get pushed or not. This seemed like a safe TC, but it could have been troublesome for Max. He's gonna be up into Imperial, though, and he's full elite skirms. Don't tell me that Jordan is throwing this game away. And if he's throwing this game away, he's throwing it away because he's making full longbow and not traps. He needs siege to finish off his opponent. He just gave his opponent 3 minutes to go up into Imperial. And it would be a massive throw. This would be an enormous throw from Jordan if he loses it this way. He needs a defensive castle here. I don't know why he attempted a castle here. Well, I understand the concept of protecting this corner, but that's just not gonna work out. You cancel that castle, you have to drop a defensive castle here that stalls out this push, and then you need actual trebs to take down buildings. Not free rams, you need trebs, because with trebs you can just take down TCs in 5 seconds, and he's not really forced to go for longbows. It kind of feels like he's underestimating Max's comeback potential over here, and Jordan is still ahead, but I feel like decisions like this could actually end up losing the game for him if he keeps doing that. He's going to add more knights. I think that's something I'm alright with. Oh no, it's like just light cav. A couple of knights could also help out against skirmishers. Right now, Jordan is in a good position because his opponent's unit composition is still absolute junk, so it's only elite skirm. That saves Jordan quite a bit here. But if you would look at the villager count, if you would look at the last couple of minutes of the game, it was Max who was really pushing Jordan's eco, and what did Jordan achieve? Took down a TC, took down a couple of farms, but these TCs are still standing. These TCs should be long gone with traps. And I feel like, as I said, Jordan is finally making some traps. He's playing good in this game, but the last couple of minutes could have actually lost him the game. That decision making wasn't really sharp, to be honest. So it looks like we're gonna have another castle attempt over here. He really wants that castle for himself here, but he loses a lot of villagers doing so. It's still 6.3k army value against 1.8, so he should be winning this, but I really dislike the final couple of minutes for Jordan as Max taps out. But here's the deal, if Max wasn't behind by 3 minutes into Imperial, this could have been a different game. Max was behind so much that Jordan was able to kind of play a little bit sloppier than usual, and he tried going for longbows, which makes some sense from the fact that you don't have to tech into Arbalest. Although, I feel like if he just goes for Arbalest and traps, this would have been a lot easier. So, if he goes for 2 traps here, this TC would be long gone, this TC would be long gone. He might have even stopped the Imperial Age over here. Longbow were to win fans, not the game. Yeah, but this is how you actually lose games, to be honest. So, he played this one better, I believe. I once again believe that Indians are massively overrated for this map. I don't think that Britain is actually a top tier civilization for this map, by the way. I think it's hard to say about a civ like Chinese, for example, or Tatars feels very, very strong on this map. I think Tatars might be the top civ. Not because of the heal bonus, but the fast thumbring, the versatility with the scouts, camos, crossbows, cav archers. I think you need something like that. A combination of being able to go for a scouts play or archer play, have cav archers available, I think is actually nice. Yeah, he tried counterpicking Indians with Britons, and the Britons, I think, is still the better civilization out of the two. And I feel like Indians are massively overrated here. This was I don't know what to say about this for Max, but it was just as bad as a decision as it is for Max to go for a front dog galleys. And Max is not losing on execution. Max is losing on game plan right now, because his game plan is not good enough, I think. So Yeah, obviously the extra Pierce Arm on the light calf helps, but it's not like that's something that justifies Indians here still. I understand the plan that he tried to go for multiple pawns and try to capitalize on Indians so much, but really, Indians, it's all about the shorefish. If you don't get a big boost from the shorefish, your late game composition isn't ideal, especially against a civ like Britons. So there are, I think, way better civs for this map, and Jordan defeats Max over here, and Jordan is just one game away from qualifying to Hidden Cup 4, ladies and gentlemen. So, we will take a look at the draft once again. Indians, a very, very predictable pick here for Max. I really dislike it. Britons, sort of a counter pick to that as Jordan loses that. And now we're going to Gold Rush, which is Max's final home map. He's got Japanese, Huns, Khmer, and Berbers available. Other side, Tatars, Malians, Byzantines, and Teutons. Other civs, it is gonna be Berbers most likely. Or it could be Khmer. It's Khmer or Berbers. Either Khmer Fast Castle or a Berber Knight play. I think Jordan will pick Malians here. It kind of feels like a Malian map here, although it could be Tatars as well. Teutons will probably go for Hideout. And Cross will be Malians or Byzantines. Teutons could be a civ for Gold Rush, indeed. The versatility is there for Jordan. It's really unpredictable what he can pick here. He can pick Tatars, he can pick Malians, he can pick Teutons. Teutons could be good for Hideout as well. Byzantines could be very, very good for Cross, so could Malians be. So it's hard to predict what Jordan would actually pick for himself in this game. But reality is that he's one game away from getting into Hidden Cup 4 and one game away from eliminating the Max here, which is, I think, the bigger surprise. I'll have to check, but the Max. Max actually was in Hidden Cup 3. That was Hidden Cup 3. He was losing in the first round, so he exited in the round of 16. In fact, I remember that series. That was a disaster from Max. That was one of the worst performances I've seen from Max a long time ago. And it was really hard to guess Max's identity because of that, because he played so badly on that one. He got 3-0'd by Dogao. I remember that. That was the final series of the first round. But in 2019, Hidden Cup 2, he was actually a finalist, and he lost 4-3 to Viper in the finals. So in Hidden Cup 2, he was one of the strongest players in there, and as I said, I feel like he sort of had a setback in recent days, or not really recent days, but recent 1.5 years or so. What I don't understand is the decision making, and I thought that the Suomi players actually have very, very good game plans. Like, one of the reasons why I'm a Suomi fan myself is because they often come up with good game plan, they are always well prepared, and I don't see necessarily that preparation on Max currently. It kind of feels like he's trying to play, standard, but he didn't really have any special game plan for him, so to say. Whereas if you remember the Jordan versus Kaposh series, Jordan has some tricky, sneaky gameplay or game plans available for him. We're going to have Jordan as Tatars on the left in red, and right side is going to be Berbers for Max in blue. Now, as much as Britons were sort of a counterpick to the Indians on the previous map, Tatars is definitely behind compared to Berbers. It depends on the timing of the game, because this could go in a lot of different ways. But technically, cavalry-wise, Berbers have the better cavalry than Tatars have, and the Berbers have Camel Archer. The tricky thing is that what happens if the Tatar player goes for Cav Archers, or before the Berber player is able to tech switch into Camel Archers, because the problem with Camel Archers is that it is quite time consuming to tech into them. That's the main problem that you're facing. So there is a window for Jordan to use Cav Archers here, but that window is kind of small. Still, I think that an early crossbowman push could also be something that gets considered here for Jordan with the free thumb ring, and we could see something like crossbows and then push with mangonels. Anyways, looking at the Max's base, and speaking of camel archers, that stone mine is disastrous for him, and the other one is also really bad. So Max's map is really not suitable for a camel archer play here, because both of those stone mines are quite bad. This is nearly undefendable. This one could be defendable if you wall like this, but this is not ideal either. The gold is nice and left side is rather volable. Right side is semi-volable, but you could definitely secure that gold mine later on for yourself. Jordan's base, I think, is actually a little bit worse, harder to wall. The wares are on the front, but you got a stone at the back, gold at the back, and this stone is also quite nice, relatively easy wall off on the right side, and on the north, really this is the only problematic part, like protecting those berries. So Jordan is playing free on wood only, which means that we're going to see scouts from him, and you already have a barracks coming in here for TheMax, who will be playing, it seems like it could be Premier Drush FC. Oftentimes we have seen players playing Drush FCs on this map, although it could be a Drush Archer play as well. Now, the thing is that a Drush FC could be very, very devastating as Jordan in here, and Jordan is going to play standard 20 pop scouts over here. So, looking at the map, the gold is very evenly distributed. This is actually a very, very nice map script. Oftentimes, Gold Rush scripts actually have gold generation issues, but from what I have seen in Hidden Cup 4, the Hidden Cup 4 Gold Rush is actually a very, very good map script. So the gold is always relatively even, although I have to add that one thing that Max doesn't have is a patch of gold on the ridge on his side. So you see that Jordan's got this patch of gold on the ridge on his side. Max only has this one, but that's actually very, very close to the bottom of this valley. So Jordan might actually be a little bit favored over here based on the gold mine spawn in the middle. So Jordan is not actually going for a mill up until now, and no barracks. Do you know what this is? This is not a scouts play. I think he wants Max to play, or think it's actually a scouts play. But it is actually going to be just full feudal boom here. In fact, he's going up at 21 pop. And as I said, those villagers being late to the berries, I kind of feel like this is not going to be a scouts play. And it shouldn't be a scouts play, especially if he sees that his opponent is fully walled. I don't think scouts are viable at all on a map like this, especially if you have no scouting information on the opponent. I hope that Jordan is not going for scouts, because that's going to be a disaster and it would be painful to see. Now, he is severely underinvesting into walls here, and the militias could actually punish him for that. As much as I was praising Jordan's game plan in multiple maps, this is an awful, awful game plan from Jordan. He might get punished for this one so well. Oh. Oh my goodness. Like, I would, if I wasn't streaming, I would scream. Because this is a 0 out of 10 game plan. Scouts on this map, everybody's playing fast castle on this map because this map is so wallable. Is it worth deleting the mill? It's debatable. If you can save all the villagers, it might be worth it. But he didn't save all the villagers. And yeah, he's gonna be up to feudal age. Congratulations, Jordan. You will clean this up, and then by that time your opponent is gonna be up to castle age and flooding you with knights or crossbows. Oh my god, this is a disaster. Yeah, you kind of had to delete the mill because there was 2 villagers in there, but let's be honest, Jordan was completely unprepared for a drush here, and that's a disaster. So it kind of felt like he wasn't well prepared for this map, or at least he kind of potatoed his build here, because if you have seen more than 5 games on this map, you know that this map is like 99% volable enough to completely make scouts useless. But you don't really void yourself, you weren't expecting the rush. I feel like why scouts on this map even? If he just walled himself up and went for full feudal boom, I would have said it's fine. Because you are a little bit later to cast stage, but you will have a very, very strong eco behind that one. But Scout's play over here feels like very, very, very questionable decision to me. He will clean this up, but by the time he even cleans this up, his opponent is going to be on the way to Castle Age. Even though Max actually went for 26 Voyagers Drush FC, which is overly ambitious. even if he pushed in all his deer, that feels... yeah, that is not gonna be a clean Rush FC from Max either. Only 4 on berries. He's running out of the goat right now. He's gonna need a bit more food to this one. But I think that in this case, I think that Jordan, or what Max needs to do is Rush FC into Knights and forward Siege Workshop, and that would work out very, very well. And it seems like he's not even going to make it into Rush FC. He kind of realizes that he's not going to have the resource to click up, so instead he would just go for the eco upgrades. But still, his eco is going to be a little bit ahead compared to Jordan. I feel like Jordan is not going to get punished completely for his bad start here, though. Because if this was a Drush FC, as Max tries to save his scout but opens up his walls, it is debatable if this is worth it, because don't tell me that Max is going to let those scouts in. He won't, but he shouldn't be risking things like this. He's trying to save that scout for the future, potentially for healing it up and picking off monks. And so it's hard to say, but yeah, I understand. That scout could be useful for information. Now Jordan's gonna have scouting within the opponent's base, and he sees that both of the stones are pretty bad, which means that Cav Archers could be more than viable here for Jordan in Castle Age. And really, as I said, because Max is going to be later into Castle Age than he initially planned, he's not going to be able to punish Jordan for this one this much. Obviously, Jordan lost the Voyager and he had to rebuild that mill. But at the end of the day, Jordan is probably just going to be about a minute or so behind into Castle Age. He sees the stable, so he knows that the Knights will be coming. He might actually go for his own stable. Well, he already has his own stable. And just open with a couple of camos. Will be fully walled by now. Wasn't a great start from Jordan, but I feel like that early click up to Feudal Age from Max is going to delay his Castle Age quite heavily, and that gives a chance for Jordan to sort of redeem himself after that disastrous start. So you see that the resources aren't looking that bad for Jordan. And if Max went up with +2 more Voyagers, it would have been a clean, fast castle. Now you gotta wonder if this was just a bait. Maybe he wanted Jordan to think that he's going for a rush into archers, and that's why he clicked up to Feudal Age earlier. I don't know. It's either a bait or it's a mistake. Whatever the case, this actually helps Jordan more than it helps for Max, because as you see, Max is gonna have like a minute advantage or so as Jordan tries to yoink that scout. Will run into a TC fire and lose his scout over here. We got a couple of spearmen in the middle as well. You could actually make a case for trying to wolf rush this, and that's 5 Voyagers pulled for what is going to be a TC in the middle, I believe. Eventually that will turn into a forward Siege Workshop too. Jordan is just about to click up and he's gonna switch into Cav Archers, just as he's supposed to do, I believe. So Voyagers will actually take the fight against the Wolferinos over here. Lady getting... these guys will just say, okay, whatever, you can die, lady. And Onlu goes down real quick over here. So we're gonna have double ranges coming in here for Jordan, as Max is gonna go for the gold mine. It's not even a TC. I thought that's a TC, but no, it's actually a stable for what is going to be probably double stable Knights play. In this case, I think that Jordan is gonna have to add a couple of spearmen, like he's doing right now, because when you're beaten to Castle Age like that, you can add a couple of spearmen to try and compensate for the Knights. As look at this, I think Jordan is intentionally bringing in the wolves here. So this was completely intentional. He brought in a couple of wolves to try and weaken those Voyagers. He knew exactly that he's gonna lose the spearmen. So third range coming in here, and what you want to do is indeed keep adding spearmen, add a couple of camos at the beginning, and then start transitioning to Cav Archers. Max will be playing with what's gonna be double stables and eventually 2 TCs play. Colonizes the middle really fast over here, as Jordan is almost up, just getting fletching in. But this is dangerous for Max, because the thing is that if you give time for Tatars to go for a lot of Cav Archers, they will start punishing you really hard for that. And if it's not a full Castle Age, full Knight push with triple stables, that actually gives a lot of time for the Tatars to get their Cav Archer numbers up high. They already have Tumbling, so we might see a Ballistics as well from Jordan, but instead he opts to go for a second TC. And I like that Jordan is actually re-rolling these walls real quick over here. You could even see a couple of camos, as I said, as the Cav Archers will now come out. No Bloodlines on these units right now. He prioritizes husbandry here, which I think is something I like at the end of the day. Max doesn't have a single upgrade on those knights though. Here comes a siege workshop for what is going to be scorpions, I assume. But it's not like Jordan has to play very, very aggressive, and Jordan could also make a couple of knights or potentially step lancers himself to try and destroy the siege engines. Both players will be playing on 2 TCs, but I feel like as long as there is no camel archers from Max, I actually take that Jordan's army comp is slightly better. I don't necessarily like moving out with 5 cav archers though. I feel like that's a little bit too low, although you have husbandry, that's something that you have to keep in mind. That you have husbandry, and it seems like Jordan wants to loop around and tries to hit the wood line over here, or potentially looking for stone miners. He probably knows that camel archers could be a thing soon, and he's not making a single knight to take down the mangonel. And as I said, I think it was a little bit premature to move out. Jordan, the mangonel killed the gate. Now, it's not going to be enough because now the Tatars have heal bonus here, and they will probably try to take this fight as good as possible. But I think Jordan needs 1 or 2 knights to deal with those siege weapons, and he needs to reroll that one ASAP because his base right now is breached, and he's going to be forced to fight this one. Husbandry on the way as well for Max, who still doesn't have a single upgrade on those. And you have to keep in mind that Jordan also doesn't have ballistics, which makes it much, much harder for his cav archers to actually deal with the knights of the opponent. And I feel like Jordan should just make 1 knight and try to snipe at least one of the mangonels. Instead, Jordan camping the hill in the middle. I feel like he's severely underestimating the importance of this push here, as there's going to be a defensive siege workshop coming in soon. Needs a house to quick wall this one, and that siege workshop isn't necessarily going up either. Luckily for him, the knights don't have a lot of pierce armor, and that is something that is extremely important for Jordan right now. If those knights had at least +1 defense and bloodlines, this would be a much, much worse fight for Jordan, who is now trying to dive in and try to snipe the mangonels. He takes down the mango, and remember that, as I said, Max doesn't actually have any upgrades on those units. He's not just now getting scareboarding with no bloodlines. And if Jordan gets to something like 20 cav archers, this is gonna start being very, very devastating. He takes the hill, takes down 1 scorpion. He will try taking down the other one as well. And it seems like the production of cav archers is going to be fairly consistent over here for Jordan. So if Jordan can save those cav archers, he could still be fine. Triggers 1 wolf, that's not really going to be a big thing. Bloodlines just now coming in for Jordan. Ballistics is still missing, is something that he's gonna have to get very, very soon for himself. Voyage count, however, is pretty close. So, as I said, as long as those cav archers are alive and there is no camel archers on the field, I'm starting to like Jordan's position more and more, although we have to add that he's on a timer. So he's gonna have to move to the middle soon. I think this is gonna be the place where he wants to move in. Tries to snipe 1 scorpion, will be successful doing so. A lot of those cav archers are very weak as well, so that's something that Jordan's gonna have to pay attention for. You see that the average condition of those cav archers is less than 50%. Here, camels will be mixed in as well, but these camels only have 1 pierce armor and no bloodlines. So those camels will die very, very easily to the cav archers, especially if Jordan gets some ballistics in for himself. Something that he's still not doing. Had to rebuild his stable to get bloodlines, by the way. That stable is there for just bloodlines. And now Jordan could use the mobility of his units, nice revos from Max on the right side, to make sure the cav archers can break into his eco. And now Max is on free TCs adding vultures to stone, so camel archers are imminent. And I feel like as much as I was bashing Max for playing passive in the Bay game, I feel like Jordan is playing a little too passive over here. It's hard to say because it's very, very hard to transition to straight cav archers here. But this is why I said that I just don't necessarily like the Tatars pick over Berbers. Berbers is, I think, the best civilization, or at least top 3 on Gold Rush in Hidden Cup. Just as much as Portuguese are better than Italians in Hidden Cup and Islands, I think Berbers are definitely better than Tatars on Gold Rush. Now, Tatars still will try to take their hill advantage here, but Jordan eats a huge mangonel shot. And based on the previous game's ending and this game, I feel like attrition might start settling in here for Jordan, because the longer we're watching this, the worse and worse moves we're seeing from him. So he didn't go for a single knight to try and snipe siege weapons, no monastery to convert units. Obviously, it's really hard to keep up performance over time, but if we have to add something, is that Max is much, much more adept in very, very long series. He's been playing in best of 7s, best of 9s in big tournaments for a long, long time, whereas Jordan, he might not be as good when it comes to playing 7 games or so right after each other, especially under a lot of pressure. And see the stone count? That's gonna be a castle. I feel like we're getting close to a 4 or a 3-2 here. And my prediction was a 4-2. So that is actually a likely possibility. But Jordan's game plan for this game, overall, the scouts play was a disaster, I believe. I don't think that scouts should have even been considered here for Jordan. And also, maybe he could have been a little bit more proactive with the cav archers. It's hard to say because indeed he was sort of overrun by knights. By the way, one of his gold mines are very, very out in the front. So this gold mine alone is going to be like half GG here, as the camel archers are now coming out. And what is Jordan gonna do against that? I feel like nothing. Jordan can't actually fight this. As I said, he needs to win this game before his opponent actually gets to camel archers. This is why I didn't like the scouts play after all. I didn't really like the way that he used his cav archers. It's hard to say. If he was actually able to wall this up a little earlier, then he could have moved out the cav archers, tried to pick off a couple of vultures on the opponent's eco. Now, one thing that Max doesn't really have here is a lot of production. So it's only one castle making camel archers, whereas his opponent is on triple ranges, just going for a market. Jordan is also heavy on stone, so he wants a castle for himself, probably somewhere around over here. I think that's the plan. But soon, Jordan will be forced to take engagements as he's walling off these vultures over here, but camel archers will soon start pressuring that gold mine as well. And that's a nice one from Jordan if he picks off a couple of vultures, tries to fight up hills against the mangonel, runs into the TC fire on the spearman though, and the camels now get unleashed on his eco, tries to quick wall this one. There is no camel archers here from Max though. Jordan is still without ballistics, tries to pick off the mangonel, eats a big mangonel shot in his face, another big mangonel shot was evaded here. But I feel like he's slowly getting overrun by the Berber cavalry, and eventually the camel archers will start making the difference here. So Bloodlines is in for those camel archers, they do have Botkin, and I feel like we're actually closer and closer to a 3-2 here. As I said, I feel like as much as the Portuguese was the better civilization for Jordan on islands compared to Italians, here Berbers is a much better pick than Tatars. I would dare to say it's sort of a counter pick even. Another castle comes in here from Max, trying to deny Jordan from all accessible gold, and Jordan is not gonna have any gold working for him. This is over. This is over. Jordan's got, like, what is he gonna do? He's gonna be off from gold. Obviously, he can sell for some time, but his opponent is just gonna control the middle, and Tatars don't have an archer to camel archers, basically. Or, well, they have their answers, but you have to be able to just steamroll this middle very, very soon over here. Otherwise, you are gonna be in trouble. Max is on 3 TCs, by the way. Vulture count is dead even for the 2 players. Jordan wants a castle on the gold himself. If this castle doesn't go up, it's over. But he actually will be successful sneaking out that villager push. I think Max knows. I think Max knows exactly that his opponent might attempt a play here. He saw the villagers for a brief moment, but there is enough cav archers to hold this back. Now, if Max actually, or Jordan gets a castle up here, this might not be completely over. Obviously, the unit composition is much better for Max, but we will see if Jordan can raid his way back into the game potentially. The thing is that there is just no units that the stars can make here. Cav archers will be countered by camel archers, Keshiks will be countered by camels. So yeah, that's the problem I'm facing as well, Nerfox, that I feel like Tatars just don't have a unit that is capable of beating Berbers. What are they gonna go for? Like, camel archers will just eat the cav archers. As I said, Keshik, cavalry, maybe. Like, yeah, maybe Keshik cav archer or potentially camel cav archer could work. But obviously that's not easy, and Max is going into Imperial. Max is going into Imperial as Jordan is buying another castle for himself, but Max will just go for Imp. Max might even try a castle up on this hill and just trap this down. I feel like when Max reaches Imperial, this is over for Jordan. Because, like, he's gonna be massively beaten into Imperial. So yeah, right now, I think Max is doing the right thing. In fact, if you are Max right now, this is the moment where you want to grab Kasbah. Because you are producing camel archers, you will need trebs, and the faster working castles will help both. So Casbah is the Castle Age upgrade of Berbers, so you can actually grab that. Maghrebi Camels is the Imperial Age one, so you could definitely go for Casbah right now, but Jordan is all in on protecting his base in the middle, which means that his eco is just completely wide open for raiding over here. It's not going to kill a lot of villagers, but it's going to idle an awful lot, and as important as the gold is in the middle of the map, it is extremely important as well to hold your original starting eco, because this is why Gold Rush is always a very interesting map. It's a balance between going for the middle for the gold and keeping your base alive with the food, wood, and stone. So I like the move as well that Max uses this as a diversion. This forces Jordan to pull his cav archers over here, and that allows Max to get the castle up here. Max just got this castle up. The idea was, as I said, that he creates a diversion. And Jordan is going into Imperial here, but it doesn't really matter, I think. I don't think that you can hold off a push for 3 minutes here in the middle. And even if you hold it off, that doesn't change the fact that your unit composition is still far from being capable of beating Berbers. There's going to be elite skirms attempted by Jordan, but eventually you will just get overrun by Cavalier then. So Camel Archer Cavalier is going to be dominating everything. Max will be making trebs on all 3 of his castles, like he should. Chemistry, Bracer. It looks like we're actually at the 3-2. So we have a very, very competitive series over here. One thing that we'll have to keep in mind, as I am really soon going to even add the score here to Max, because it seems very unlikely Jordan is going to make a comeback. Although not completely impossible, but right now his chances are below 5% here. So the thing is that Jordan still has 2 of his home maps available. So, and we have seen that Jordan was very, very dominating on his own home map islands. And I would think that Jordan has some tricky strategies planned for his other home maps as well, as the traps are being set up. Still 115 away from Imperial is Jordan, who's trying to tech into Elite Skirm, but eventually, well, that's actually a little sloppy from Max, losing a couple of Camel Archers to the Skirms, but what you're going to see is just Cavalier switch from Max if he needs to against the Skirmishers. The first castle is slowing them down. It's 3 traps, I think, firing down hills, because this castle isn't actually on this ridge, but even if it was, I think this hill is actually a little higher than this ridge is. Another castle comes in here for Max to secure this part of the map for himself, and the first castle from Jordan goes down. The second castle, I think, is gonna have the same fate, and with plate barding coming in, and with all the gold available in the map, I think that it's gonna be a Cavalier play from Max, even though he's a little too low on food. So that's something I kind of dislike here for him. But he's also collecting relics, so really every bit of advantage he can grab, he's gonna try grabbing that, and Jordan's gonna pull all the villagers to repair this one. But by the time he comes in here, even 24 villagers isn't enough against 4 traps firing down hills. That castle just gets absolutely annihilated. And remember the slope scheme, this is why I said that I feel like traps would have been much, much better. 4 traps just melt castles like in 5 seconds, with no hope for your opponent to kill them. Whereas for Rams, if you don't pay attention, the Rams might get killed by villagers or so. So I feel like it's just much, much easier for the Imperial Age player to go for traps here. And that's the Cavalier switch, Elite Camel Archer. I don't think that Casbah has been researched by Max, neither is Maghrebi Camels. So he could really use some buff to those Camel Archers still. Max actually misses all these villagers running back home. But at the end of the day, Jordan is pretty much cornered within his own base, tries to get a TC up here, that's not gonna happen either. Jordan is off from gold, he's got stone to drop castles. The problem is, how are you going to keep those up? As Jordan tries to push out with the elite skirms, eventually when the Cavalier arrive, I feel like that's gonna be the end of the story here. He's gonna be hoping that the elite skirms will buy himself some time, and truth being told, with no cavalry here from Max just yet, maybe Jordan's gonna be able to edge out a decent fight here for himself. I think Max just needs to keep adding Camel Archers though. He's gonna lose a couple, but it's about waiting it out until you get the Cavalier on the field, and there's already a couple of Cavalier out, so when there is like more than 10 here, they will just get unleashed on the Skirmishers, and that's gonna be the end of the story for Jordan. His Cav Archers also kind of split away from the Elite Skirms, so here comes the Cavalry. And I feel like with that, Jordan's chances of winning this game will drop down to next to 0%. Oh man, that feels so bad. That's gonna be Tatar Halberdier, but Tatar Halberdier doesn't even have +2 defense. It's one of the very, very few units that don't even have, and very, very few civilizations overall, that don't even have a Castle Age armor upgrade available for them. Tatar Halberdier is awful. I mean, it does the damage, but it's just going to die like not so easily to the Camel Archers. And you see that Jordan is trying, but that's just too far gone. The window for Tatars here in this game is absolutely gone. And Jordan eventually is going to just run out of resources within his own base at this space, as it looks like Max is already preparing rams to push this one. And it's not like Max actually has to push this. Max can sit back and wait forever, basically, and wait until his opponent comes in here. Obviously, if Max used these traps, he would already be trapping down these buildings. In fact, that's what Max should be doing. Bring those traps in here, start trapping down, open up this wall, let your Cavalier, let your Camel Archers flood in here. Jordan is trying to tech into Pikemen, but you see that this is not really going to lead anywhere. There's already Rams, or potentially Bombard Cannons coming in from this side. The army numbers are still comparable, so are the populations, but Jordan is not in a position on this map to win this game, that's the thing. So, on this map, population army numbers is one thing, position on the map is just as important as those are. As those Cavalier are +2, +4, those Tatar Pikemen barely have any upgrades, so it's +1 defense, +1 attack, not really super efficient. And Jordan's unit control is actually quite nice over here. Keeps the Cav Archers in front to try and shield the skirmishers from the Cavalier. But I feel like the lead is big enough here for Max to be able to just dive in here. And you can see that all the skirms go down really easily. Camel Archers still in huge quantities. And they would just eat the pikemen, they would just eat the Cav Archers. Jordan is down to 2.3k army value, 4 times larger for his opponent, 63 army against 21. This game is over, and we're going into game number 6 over here in this set. There is going to be Rams coming from Max. I feel like Jordan is just delaying the inevitable, really, because the window for Tatars is gone. It is sort of a civilization win for Max, because he definitely had the better civilization. But we also have to consider that, as I said, drafting is also a skill in Age of Empires. Jordan had the civ advantage on islands, I believe, with Portuguese. I would say that he also had the civ advantage with Britons on slopes, and probably even Mongols versus Persians on Bay. But on this map, his opponent was the one having the civ advantage. The Tatar Cav Archers have 6 pierce armor, but it doesn't change the fact that Camel Archers eat them up still. And there was even Maghrebi Camels tagged into my Max as Jordan taps out. And we have a free 2 series over here. As I said, at the beginning of this series, my prediction was 4-2, and if Jordan is going to play the way I expect him to play on his own home map, then this is definitely going to be a 4-2, because now Jordan lost 1 game on the opponent's home map, but you have to keep in mind that out of 3 games on the opponent's home maps, only 1 game was lost by Jordan. He lost Arabia, and after that, he won 3 in a row. And that is going to be the first win on Max on his own home map. And now, the only chance that Max has to come back into this set is if he wins all the games on Jordan's home maps. So, we'll take a look at the remaining civilizations. That's just Max's tournament performances from before. So, remaining civilizations, Berbers are gone for Max, and Tatars are gone for Jordan. And what we're left with is Hideout and Cross. And on Hideout, we are gonna have, I think, Teutons, and Cross could be either Byzantines or Malians. Either of these could work out very, very nicely. So we will have probably Huns. I think if you are Jordan, you go for Malians on Cross. Because here's the deal. Khmer will be the civilization pick for Hideout. It's going to be Khmer versus Teutons on Hideout, I'm fairly certain. So 2 farming civs. The question is if Max picks Huns or Japanese on Cross. Both of these are possible. I think Huns are a little bit more versatile, so I would love that. However, the reason why I think Max should pick Japanese is because he sees that his opponent has Malians. And both Malians and Byzantines sort of counter Huns here. I think it's going to be Malians from Jordan, but Malians is like a direct counter to Huns here. So I feel like it's Japanese. It has to be Japanese for Max. That's my perspective on this one. If we are going to cross, but I feel like if you are Jordan right now, you might actually go for hideout. And we're indeed going to hideout, as Jordan is hoping for what could be his first ever Hidden Cup appearance, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Jordan has never played in the Hidden Cup, right? Results, let's see. No, it seems like he hasn't played in a Hidden Cup. Actually, he did. Jordan played in Hidden Cup too, I didn't know that. Like, I was just starting to cast back then. I was casting for 2 months when Hidden Cup 2 happened, so I don't remember all the players. He actually played in Hidden Cup 2, and ironically, Hidden Cup 2 qualifiers. 11th of April 2019, Hidden Cup 2, first round. In the main event, he lost to Max. The same Max that went on to lose 4-3 to Viper in the finals. And now, Jordan could take revenge on him. Here, 2 years ago, Max eliminated Jordan in the first round of Hidden Cup 2 and marched on to the grand finals to get to lose against Viper. Now, Jordan could eliminate Max over here even before the main event. With that, we are going into one of my most beloved maps. The first map I've ever seen a competitive Age of Empires game on, actually. I think it was a Taro versus Fire game, but there was also Nikov playing the same day. I actually looked back at the original Escape AoE VODs. At some point, I felt like I want to have some nostalgia, and I went back and looked for the first ever game I've seen in competitive Age of Empires. All I remember from that day is that I learned 2 player names, Taro and Nikov. Those were the 2 player names I remembered first. And I looked back, and it was actually Hideout, I remember. So to this day, I sort of have an emotional connection, so to say, to Hideout as well, because this was the first map where I actually saw competitive Age of Empires on. Basically, it was ECL, I think, West Europe stage, like the ending stage of the West Europe or so. And it was casted by Nili, I remember that. And one of the reasons why Nili was the first ever caster I followed on Twitch, because he had the mod where the wolves were replaced with those drone hippos. And I was like, oh, I like this guy. He's got a good sense of humor. And that way, Nili was the first caster I started following. Followed by T90, I believe. Then I found, of course, Memb, Ornlu. And, nowadays, I have kind of become part of this community as well. So that's cool. Anyways, one thing I would like to point out is that technically, the random deer patches are actually pretty close here for Max, so he could actually be pushing in these Ibuxes as well if he wanted to. It takes some effort, but it would be a nice little extra food for you, and there is 2 ways you can push in deer. The way that Jordan is doing it, keeping the gate open with the sheep and pushing the deer through, you actually move away the sheep, and that actually prevents the deer from walking back. You see that Jordan already pushed in 2 deer, but neither of them are actually willing to go for the TC, so that's one of the reasons why it's better to push in through the gate, because that means that the deer can't walk back to the starting position, whereas if you push through the walls, you can actually build a house here, that's not a problem. The problem is that if the deer starts going back, it's gonna go all the way back, and that delays you quite a bit. Anyways, we haven't mentioned the civilizations, but it is a good old-fashioned Khmer versus Teutons play over here. It is fairly standard over here. Get your hose ready, because we're gonna do some farming over here, ladies and gentlemen. Fitting for a T90 tournament, we will have a lot of farms over here. Speaking of farms, while we're waiting on Dark Age over here, as everybody's just chilling, pushing in here, this is the time which I just fast forward if I'm casting recorded games, if these are live, so we won't really have the chance to fast forward this. So the thing is that if you've been following T90 on Twitter, he actually got gifted a copy of Farming Simulator for the memes. And also, there was a video on YouTube a couple of days ago which actually listed Age of Empires 2 as, I think, the sixth weirdest Age of Empires, or sixth weirdest esports game out there. And that also listed Farming Simulator. And as I said, while I was waiting for that, I just want to give a quick shout out to Farming Simulator competitive games. As underrated as Age of Empires is as an esport, and a lot of sort of outsiders would say, hey, Age of Empires esport, what is this? For us, it's natural that it starts becoming an esports, but for many people, it might feel weird that a 20-year-old game is actually having tens of thousands of people watching with tens of thousands of dollars for prize pool. But as surprising as Age of Empires would sound like for a stranger to have as an esport, Farming Simulator is the same thing. It's actually very fun. So in case you are ever bumping into a Farming Simulator tournament on Twitch, they actually live stream it. In fact, it was on main page, I think, at some time. Farming Simulator competitive is actually weird, but it's fun. I've actually been watching tournaments in Farming Simulator in recent times. So, yeah, if you ever bump into that, I think they're actually doing like an official stream on the developers' Twitch page. The funny thing is, by the way, that's actually an interesting thing, that the main language of the Farming Simulator tournaments is German. So, what happened, I was watching that, is that the English voiceover for the commentators wasn't actually synchronized with their lips moving, and it was because they were showing image of the German commentators, but the English channel was actually streaming English voiceover. That was weird in that case. How do you win in a Farming Simulator? You actually gather points. I don't know the exact rules, but basically the way it works in that game is that, you know, you have to chop down the crops, you have to make bales, you have to deposit them somewhere, and depending on timings, depending on the amount of bales and whatnot deposited, you get a certain amount of points, and the team that reaches a certain point in a certain amount of time wins, basically. That's the idea. And there's actual strategies there as well. So it's like which order you go for those. It's crazy. It's very fun. It's surprisingly fun. I actually posted it on my Twitter when I first found that, and it was very fun because I posted it on Twitter that look at this. It's so weird, but it's so fun. And like half of the AoE2 community starting showing up. I saw Zero Empires was there. I think Barbecue Turkman also said hi on chat. So they were also coming in. I kind of converted at least 10 people into Farming Simulator fans. How is Jordan a full Voyager ahead with the same idle TC time? Most likely, Jordan doesn't go for Loom. That's how. If you see this, same idle TC time, same fuel age times, and one Voyager advantage for one player. That's actually just a Loom difference. So Max is gonna be playing 23 Loom plus 0, which basically is a 24 plus 0 timing. Whereas for Jordan, he actually goes for what is a 24 plus 2 timing over here as well, but no Loom. So at the end of the day, Jordan's gonna be about 50 seconds behind in Castle Age, but his eco is gonna be a little stronger. So we'll see what Max goes for, and Max is going for a very, very aggressive strategy here, which is the forward stable Knights play. This is one of the reasons why I pick Mer on this map, because you can go for a fast castle and go for a very aggressive Castle Age push, and you see that Max is trying to snipe down Jordan's scout because he wants to make sure Jordan doesn't discover that stable, and we'll see if he does. This is going to be extremely important part of the game. If Jordan sees the stable, he's going to know how to react. He sees the walls. He sees the walls, and he should know that there is a Voyager over there as a Spearman comes in here to help out. Max reacts, and Jordan is going to know that there is a stable coming in here in his face. There's a bear also trying to help out Jordan, and indeed Jordan sees this one. And the way that you react to this one is relatively simple. You will just make a monastery and try to convert. And the thing is that Max could try converting the stuff back, but that's not going to work out because it's going to be Teutons he's up against. Or Jordan can also just try to match the knight numbers, because he's got Teuton Knights which have 1 extra melee armor over Khmer Knights, which could also work out quite nicely. And the drawback of this play is that your eco isn't going to be super strong with the Khmer play. It seems like Max is going to be able to squeeze in 2 TCs, but producing 2 TCs and the stable might not actually work out as you would imagine. Whereas for Jordan, cheaper farms help quite a lot in booming, and Jordan is going to be able to afford at least 1 TC. He goes for a monastery first. I think he needs to prioritize a TC somewhere around over here on the gold mine though, as he's going to get a couple of spearmen out. Spearman also getting 1 extra melee armor here, which helps quite a bit for Jordan. And yeah, instant monastery, knights, spearman. Jordan's defense here is looking pretty decent, although he's only on 1 TC, whereas his opponent will be on 2, so that's something that's worth keeping an eye on. Teutons on close maps are absolutely sick. Yeah, Teutons is an S tier arena civilization, and as it was pointed out on the chat before, Hideout is sort of a budget arena here. So Jordan should be dropping TC number 2 over here on the wood line. He has just 2 knights on the field, but those knights do have the extra melee armor. No upgrades at all for Max's knights. And Max is gonna bring in a monastery, but that's the problem that you're up against the Teutons. It's going to be so hard converting those knights, and all the Teuton player has to do is just make sure that he doesn't, you know, let your monks convert your knights for 10 seconds. And Jordan could also make a couple of monks to convert knights back himself. So this is gonna be an awfully tough push for Max to make. I'm not even sure how he would be supposed to do this. Now, that's a late monk from Jordan, if you ask me. He had the monastery up for quite a while, but he seems like he was hesitant to invest into an additional monk. Nice rewalls with the house right now. Still, should be no trouble for Jordan to defend against this one. And if you look at the villager count, this seems relatively even. Obviously, the Khmer farming eco is gonna be having a faster gathering rate. Jordan not reacting to that wall being knocked down. Reacts in the final second. House goes up just in time. So, look at this. The push here from Max isn't actually capable of doing much. And at the end of the day, the Teuton player is going to have the same economy. So that was a beautiful move from Jordan. Moved out with 1 scout, picked off a monk, and now he brings in his own knights. Spearman gets poked down. Knight on the way. That's a disaster for Max. That's an absolute disaster. Spearmans will actually force away the scouts over here. There was, I think, 1 conversion. Was there a conversion or not? But regardless of the result, that's an absolute disaster for Max in what is a decider game, by the way. The villager is jumping into the house to save him, but at this point, Max's push here has been completely devastated, and he's now going for free TCs. But here's the deal. Teutons can react to this one with their forward Siege Workshop monk play now. So it's not impossible that the Teuton player now goes for an aggressive play, and instead of going for free TCs himself, it looks like Jordan is gonna play this one safe. We have seen this one in the in the Islands game as well, that he just wants to play this as safe as possible, and he's gonna get relics too. Look at this, Jordan already picking up relics. As sloppy as Jordan was in the previous game, this is so far clinical precision. So maybe he had to take a 5 minutes break, maybe he had to clear his head, but as bad as the previous game was from Jordan, so far this has been crystal clear. Execution-wise, game plan-wise, his reactions are good, his execution is very good, his unit control is superb, picking off the monks, and Max is actually trying something that's a little bit unconventional, although I think nowadays, on Hideout, you kind of have to expect the Khmer to go for an aggressive play here. There's going to be free TCs for Max here already. Jordan finished his 3rd TC as well. And the thing is that transitioning to the early food eco is actually better for the Teutons player, because you have cheaper farms, so you can actually drop farms a lot earlier. Obviously, the gather rate is going to be better for the Khmer player, but the early farm numbers will actually favor the Teutons, or at least that is what is supposed to happen. So it looks like Max still has this sneaky villager over here, as he will try to do some damage with it. But obviously, Teuton scouts also have 1 extra melee armor here, which means that Max isn't able to just take a direct engagement 1 versus 1 against the scouts. And Jordan is gonna have the relics. That's relic number 3 coming in here for Jordan. 4 villagers lead right now for Max, but I don't feel like that actually is something that is problematic for Jordan by any means. And it looks like we're gonna have a pikeman switch from Max. And now I think Jordan is doing the right thing. He's collecting relics, and what he's gonna do is just say, okay, whatever. I'm going to just sit on my advantage right now and just go for a crazy boom. And Halberdier Onager could be something that Khmer struggled really badly against. It looks like there was actually a knight killed and one converted here from Max. And Max will be able to pick up at least one relic, but it could be possibly two. Depends on when the monk of Jordan gets there. Jordan sees the relic, so he will definitely go for it. The question is if he gets there in time. There is still a weak scout that could potentially pick off a monk. Oh, this could be huge. Jordan knows about the monks there because he lost a knight to a conversion, and the scout picks off the monk. The knight could still get converted, but it's actually going for the other monk here. Even just picking off the monks helps so much. Max, beautiful micro over there though, blocking the knight with the other knight, and that should be deleted knight now for Max, or for Jordan. Oh man. He should have deleted that knight. As I said, what you have to pay attention to when you're playing Kumans is, or Teutons is that you don't want that knight to be converted for 10 seconds. Now, Max is going heavy on stone, which makes me wonder if we'll actually try a surprise play here. And what Max could be thinking about, first of all, he's trying to sneak a couple more villagers through here, capitalizing on those pikemen, is, like, what is the plan here for Max? He's flooding the pikemen out, sure, one villager gets converted. Now Jordan's gonna try to make the impossible happen here and try to just quick gate the entire thing out, and the bear is going to make this much harder than as it is supposed to be, and knights will get through that. There is no way Jordan holds this one, and oh boy, Jordan could be in a bit of a trouble, because if you look at the resources, Max is not impossibly far away from Imperial, and he's actually getting stone for a castle. Oh my goodness. And he has the temporary numbers advantage. It's 19 army against only 6. And now Jordan's gonna attack into his own pikeman, and that's just gonna be better simply than his opponent's pikeman. But keep in mind that he's up against Khmer. Anytime in this game we could see a Ballista Elephant cut and Light Cap flooding the eco of Jordan. The TC does go up, and that's actually pretty crucial over here because that kind of keeps those pikemen out there. There is a villager randomly dropping houses on the other side, as we'll set over the free 2 relic count, just like the current scoreline in the favor of Jordan. Knights getting converted as they're trying to intercept the villager that is coming in here. The villager will bite the dust, as now pikemen are also on the way for Jordan. Scale mill for Max, adding another TC over here, so both players will be playing on 4 town centers. 35 on food versus 30 on food, only 2 on gold for both players, but the relic gold income obviously is slightly better for Jordan. Additional barracks are on the way for him, and he also wants a defensive castle. In fact, he's 20 on stone. I think that castle wants to go up here, because that hill would be very crucial to protecting the front of your base, and it would actually be a nice establishment to go for a couple of villagers and go forward and vote this one. And is Jordan actually... Now Jordan wants to drop a castle a little bit more forward, I believe. Battering rams on the way for Max. He's investing a lot into this castle age push, but if this wall goes up and there's a castle, that's a completely different thing. And funnily enough, if Max just goes full pikeman, do you know what unit the Teutons could go for very easily here? Teutonic Knights. As gimmicky and weird as it sounds like, Teutonic Knights might actually make sense for Jordan over here, if his opponent is going for full pikeman. Max is still far away from a castle, so there is no cut, and it looks like it's going to be an Arbalest switch from our Khmer player as the Rams are knocking through the walls. Castle will eventually be dropped by Jordan over here. Max has a slight score lead, and there is a sneaky stable coming up on the other side as well. The thing is that Jordan is actually trying to get vision on the other side to see if there is a counterattack coming from that way. As the University does get denied, this actually hurts Jordan very much, because that University denied delays the Imperial Age. He wants to click into Imperial, but that University being denied is going to delay this one so heavily, and he has a workshop going up, so he can still click up though. And we have the Knights, or the Rams pushing through Mangonel on the way for Jordan. It's not impossible for Max to go up to Imperial either, but he's gonna be like half a minute or so behind. He's teching into Arbalest though, so Max is gonna have to be cautious about onagers and halberdiers. That's probably the plan for Jordan here. Still, I'm not necessarily impressed about Jordan's numbers nor his army quality here, and these walls definitely failed, and this castle age push forces Jordan to go for a lot of defensive units. Max clicks up with like a 40 seconds deficit, as the villager here will be attacked by both a bear and the villagers of Max. And now Jordan should see that there is something coming from the other side as well, and that's the plan for Max. He's probably gonna wait until he can unleash about 20 light cav, and he will probably try to distract Jordan on the left side with a push, and then simultaneously unleash light cav from these stables to go for a counterattack. Now, Jordan is going for a gold mine just now. If Jordan is actually smart, he could actually get the defensive castle on this other side. He doesn't see a single outpost. This is actually important. Because without those, like if you saw the outpost, you would know that there's a Voyager over there. But maybe if the university goes up, he's gonna spot the outpost, and that would be very, very helpful for him. Rams, once again, moving in for a counterattack, and it's gonna be Onagers indeed. It's gonna be Onager and Hub there from Jordan. Ecos are still comparable. But I feel like Max is slowly coming back into this game, and Jordan has no idea about this one. Jordan has absolutely no idea about this counterattack, and if it's like 15 Cavalier hitting this gold mine, Jordan could lose half of his eco in a matter of seconds. This is getting very, very risky for Jordan, and I feel like Max is taking over, which would put this into a decider game. It seems like Jordan is actually going to try walling himself off, but he's got a sneaky Voyager around as well, but I feel like the sneak for Max is huge, and this is one of the things that you get from Khmer. Jordan getting fortified wall, but it doesn't really matter as long as there's a sneak here, and now he finds out. Now he finds out, and he's gonna have to make a castle ASAP. Indeed, that's the castle coming up for him on that gold mine. So let's see if we are going to see a cut coming in here. It would definitely be possible, as he's trying to go for 45 when another sneaky Voyager comes through. So one of the underrated things that Khmer give you in this scenario is the sneaky Voyagers can jump into houses, so killing them is actually very, very hard, as that university is still denied. Fortified walls on the left side, nice, but I mean, Max can just walk in on the right side. So here come the knights, here come the crossbows, a siege workshop coming in here, but there are knights, Jordan, there are knights. And I feel like Jordan is slowly falling apart. He had some very, very good moves at the beginning of this game, but it seems like attrition is really starting to settle in, because he seems like he's actually dropping a little bit in performance. I'm not blaming him for that, he's already been playing for 3 hours. However, it looks like Max's stamina might actually start prevailing, and there is the cut. That's one of the reasons my Khmer can be so, so good. Imagine if there was actually light cav in here as well. Just a couple of light cav or knights could do so much damage, and Jordan is distracted everywhere. He's fighting the knights over here, and that's why Max was waiting for those knights. He was waiting until he's able to cut through in the middle, and he's distracting Jordan, and there is also going to be Ballista Lafanka. The only actual use for this unit in this game is cutting through the trees. It's the only unit, it's the only Castle Age unit that can cut through trees, actually. We have seen Castle Age pushes like that in the qualifiers, and this wasn't really done very, very frequently on Hideout back in the days. The first player to do this was, I think, Bad Koala versus Tim. That's actually an interesting thing to talk about. Bad Koala versus Tim, game number 5, decider game. Bad Koala cuts into his opponent's base with Ballista Elephants and Light Cavs. I feel like if Max had 20 Light Cav prepared here, this would be great. And this would be potentially a game over for Jordan. The only reason why Jordan didn't take that much of a damage is because there was no real damage dealing unit here from Max. So he survives for the time being. But I feel like the more I'm looking at this, the more I'm seeing that Max is starting to control this game. We're going to have Arblasts coming in. The left side is very, very stalematy, and we could see a long game coming in here. Now, truth being told, if we have Halberdiers and Onagers here for Jordan, and he actually cleans this one up here, we could still see Jordan as he actually walled this one off, so reinforcements will not really be coming in if this is cleaned up. We could see Jordan trying to Onager cut in and try to counterattack, so this is not over yet. But I feel like I'm seeing more and more confidence for Max, which wasn't really there after that 3-1 deficit that he was in. I think Jordan will try to get a castle somewhere around over here, as that is Ironclad. Ironclad is a good upgrade for these Onagers over here, to make sure that knights can't snipe them that easier. Crenellations could actually make some sense here as well. Although we're gonna have the traps coming in here for Jordan, another cut coming in here. But once again, my problem with this cut is that it's going to let you get 17 pikemen into the opponent's eco, and that's it. 17 pikemen isn't going to do that much of a damage. If there was 30 light cav behind this one, and there obviously isn't, then this would be a completely different scenario. they would just run in and kill 20 villagers from Jordan. Now, it looks like this is gonna get cleaned up. Jordan's still not going for Onager, as Max is still trying to keep this forward alive as long as possible. Here's the cut though. Jordan not reacting to this one just yet. Mangano sees the elephant, and now it's Halberdiers. Sure, but are Halberdiers going to do that much of a damage here? I would somewhat doubt that. So it looks like Jordan's gonna have to withdraw over here. Onager halfway in for him. He's setting up the traps to take down these buildings, as the right side and the left side are both still walled off. Remember that Jordan is sitting on 3 relics, so that's an advantage for him. Also, he's got 5 milli armor on those 2-ton Halberdiers, whereas his opponent only has 2. It seems like, however, Max is killing quite a lot of villagers. What is this? How is Jordan losing this many villas? He didn't garrison into the TC, or did he Onager his own? I don't know what happened here, but he even can fit 25 villagers into a TC. He could just jump inside and avoid. Obviously, it's idle time, but he lost so much. Over here, another castle comes in here, as now Max is going to force that one to be a doubt castle, and the thing is that Onagers will be pretty devastating against the Khmer player, because that player that doesn't have Bombard Cannon anymore, but Arbalest could be a very decent way of playing this one for Max, if he's able to keep them alive. In fact, Arbalest Lightcav should be the name of the game here, I believe, for Max. Eventually this castle is gonna go up though, and what a thrilling way to get closer to the end of this series, because Jordan still has the score lead and he's cleaning this one up slow and steady, and I feel like if he cleans this up and doesn't die in the process, I think Jordan's gonna have the advantage. So he's gonna have 3 relics, neutral golds, although it might be worth talking about the fact that both neutral golds are in the hands of Max here because of these balls. So Max is gonna have a lot more gold to work with. There is a neutral gold over here though. I think there might be another neutral gold here, so I think there is more neutral golds on this map than on the standard map generation hideout, as Jordan is casually onagering down his own Halberdiers. And yeah, Jordan is going to be able to hold this one most likely. There is crenellations for those castles. Crenellations here won't really do much to you, because crenellations is mainly used against bombard cannons, but obviously it's still helpful trying to pick off units from further distance. So we are gonna have, oh yeah, auto-reseeding farms actually is wasting wood. That's totally true, because the villager comes back to reseed the farm, and the farm gets destroyed by the traps immediately. Now, it's only 40 on food right now for Max. He's not gonna give up on this easily, as Jordan runs into the castle fire with his onagers, but the trap is exposed to, or that castle is exposed to trap fire, and it seems like we're actually going to see Jordan going for Botkin Arrow, so that those crenellation castles actually have 13 range over here. And the thing is that if that castle goes down, if this is cleaned up, and Jordan is able to wall this one, I feel like Jordan's gonna have the upper hand in this one, because he's gonna have bombard cannons, he's gonna have onagers, and Khmer just don't really have an answer to onager Halberdier, to be honest. If they had bombard cannon, it would be a completely different thing. Now Max apparently tries to go for rams. I feel like now it's onager cut, but Max needs light cav. If Max had light cav in here with these onager cuts, he would win the game. Did he get crenellations? Yes, he got crenellations. It's 13 range already. So I think what Max is actually doing wrong here is that he's not using the biggest power of Khmer in late game, which is the flood, the endless flood of Hussar. And if you onager cut into the opponent's base like this, send in 30 Hussar, Jordan might lose 20 villagers over here. Jordan even getting treadmill crane, trying to repair that castle, as that castle could gun down really easily. And now the plan for Max is that he wants to launch an assault into Jordan's base with Halberdiers, Arbalests, taking down that castle. The castle has some HP upgrades on it. Jordan is actually finished cleaning this one up on the right side, so he will actually divert all his Halberdiers, bombard cannons, and onagers over here. And I feel like if those traps go down from Max, I don't see this one happening for him. And the traps will go down. The castle seems like it's going to stay up for Jordan, and Max tried it. I feel like there was only one ingredient missing for Max, and that is light cav. If he actually got light cav before cutting, this would have been a game which he can win. But Halberdiers alone won't actually win you this one. You don't really have an answer to onagers, that's the problem. Like, onager bombard cannon is something that the Khmer player here struggles quite mightily against. And Jordan is just inches away from getting back into Hidden Cup after missing out on Hidden Cup 3, a Teutonic Knight casually bashing down an Arbalest, a side that you don't see every day. But now I feel like if Max isn't able to raid his way back into the game in the next 2 or 3 minutes, this game is over for him. Siege Onager on the way for Jordan. Max is sitting on an awful lot of resources. What is he up to? I don't understand Max. He's 177 population. What is happening to him? And this is the Max that played Hidden Cup Grand Finals in 2019. And there's just, as good as he was playing in a previous Gold Rush game, this is massive question marks right now. What is happening? Did he drop? I don't think he dropped because he's actually getting techs. But what is this? He's floating 3k food, 5k gold. I understand the gold being floated because he might actually play for a very long game. But the food being floated, and where is the light cav not Jordan? Where is the light cav Max? Not a single stable even. I don't understand what he has against the light cav, and you need light cav here to raid your way back into the game. Is this actually a drop? No, it's not a drop. He's making buildings. And yeah, I understand he's floating resources intentionally to outlast his opponent, but it's not like Jordan's gonna run out of resources anytime soon. So I really don't understand what's happening here to Max. Because he is really on a timer, especially considering that he's only having 2 relics against 3. And it sort of feels like he has already given up on this, because the last couple of minutes we haven't seen anything from him. Like, he's preparing a push on the right side, not really materializing right now. He's making hubs and arbs, and I don't understand why he didn't actually go for it. Just try to right cap, like, Onager cut, light cap raid. Obviously, that's not going to be super cost efficient, but Khmer are so devastating when it comes to light cav raids. How many times have we seen Khmer just winning a game by flooding the map with light cav? So, you won't be able to directly beat the Teutonic army now in late game with Khmer. So, you kind of have to raid your way back into the game. That's your only hope. Like, look at this. These Halberdiers have 5 melee armor against only 2. And you also have Siege Onagers over here for Mac or Jordan. He's got Bombard Cannons. I don't know. I honestly don't know what Max is up to here. So, eventually he's just gonna get overrun by the Teuton player here. Like, he seems like he's trying to get a push on the right side in, but this is not a population issue anymore. 150 population against 150 as well. Jordan also has a very low population. Jordan's eco balance isn't great. And now the push on the left side coming in, and just look at all these idle production buildings from Max. I don't know what's happening to him. I'm speechless. Finally played barding, but too late. I feel like this is way too late. I understand, I'm not sure if Lightcap would have saved the day here for Max. But as I said, the cutting was a genius idea. However, you need something that you cut with. You don't just cut your way through the forest for 5 pikemen, because the pikemen won't kill much. If he had 20 light cav at that time, Jordan loses 20 villagers at minimum. And now, like, don't tell me that he's not spending his resources because he's conserving them for late game. Everything is idle. Like, he's making Halberdiers. I don't know what's up. I think he might know it's over. That's the only thing I can think about. Nothing justifies that half of his production is idle at 165 population and floating 8k food. I feel like, I'm not going to say he's AFK, but I think this might already be given up by him. That's the only thing I can think about. Because, currently, I would borderline say that Max isn't doing anything. He's not making units, basically. He has 2 barracks and 1 siege workshop working. He's trying to counterattack the other side with a couple of arbalasts. But yeah, like, this is the push that he's trying to make here, but still no response to the onagers. Not even remotely close to being able to answer the onagers. He's losing left side very easily here. I think Jordan is in Hidden Cup 4, ladies and gentlemen. And This is going to be a heartbreaking loss for Max over here, whose downward spiral is going down. And indeed, there is the end of the story. We don't know what happened here. We don't see the spectator chat, so maybe he was having a little bit of a chat with Jordan, wishing him good luck. I don't know. But to me, it feels like the final 3 minutes, Max might have been just sitting there and saying, it's over. I can understand. I can understand if he was sitting there. I can understand if he was wishing good luck to Jordan. Like, maybe he said, okay, I've lost this, and we'll just chat here. But he wasn't AFK because he was making some units, but he was barely making anything. And whatever the case, I'm fairly certain that Max is very, very disappointed in himself. It's a heartbreaking loss for him because he didn't have the best tournament performances recently. And Jordan indeed is back. I'm a little bit sad here. It's not a sadness because, you know, on the result or whatsoever, obviously. But honestly, I really feel what Max can feel right now. I would also, like, if I was in Max's position, I would probably do the same thing here. Just sit there and say, where did this go wrong? What have I done wrong? So he didn't rage quit. He probably was just sitting there and saying, okay, I know it's over. So he's going to resign. And Jordan, after missing Hidden Cup 3, he is going to be back in Hidden Cup 4. And I think that this was an easier series for him than it was for Kaposh. In the previous set, I said that after beating Kaposh, I feel like he has the upper hand against Max. I was right about that. 4-2 was my prediction as well for this one. There were some sloppy moments for Jordan. So inconsistency within a certain series actually started to show, especially by late game. Attrition might have been a thing as well for him. I think the only bad game though for Jordan that like was really bad was the Gold Rush game. Every game or every other game, I think he was always one step ahead of Max. And Max, so far, will probably have to gather his thoughts. He had huge hopes for this tournament, I'm fairly certain, because recently he has taken a step down in 1v1 performances, and he probably has to sit down and think on what is going wrong. I feel like what Max needs to clean up is a bit of a decision making, because I feel like that wasn't really there for him today. The galleys on the front on islands, the very, very predictable yet kind of bad Indians pick on slopes, many of these little puzzle pieces falling apart. And I feel like decision making was a bigger concern right now today for Max than it used to be. And the next tournament where we're going to see Max playing in is going to be 2 polls. So we will see if maybe Max needs to take a little bit of a break from 1v1 tournaments, and we will see what he can do teaming up with Vilas in a 2v2 tournament after Hidden Cup. So looking forward to seeing Max and Vilas over there. But as I said, I'm a bit sad for Max. I feel like both of these players would deserve to be in the main event, but this time Jordan is the one that deserves it more. And at the end, he is the one qualifying for Hidden Cup 4.